Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another BRAP. It is January the 17th, 2024, and have a stacked panel here with me this evening. And look, sorry for the late start, by the way. I did hit the go live button, but I forgot to hit it on YouTube because this gentleman, who I'll introduce here in just a second, had me Googling how to play the presidential election bet game by betting on states. And I want to thank Mag for that. Mag.
Yes.
that sounds. I was literally Googling it. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I forgot to hit one more button. So, welcome to BRAP, sir. How are you this evening?
I am doing fantastic. Yes, we got some things to talk about. It's been, I got to tell you, usually January is the quiet time, right? And it's the quiet time of the year where there's not a whole lot going on. Everybody's like, they're already talking about E3 because there's nothing happening in the first 5 months. We've had more news and more nonsense and more drama in the first 2 weeks of this month than we've had probably in all of 2023 combined. So we got some things to unwrap tonight. We got things to talk about. We got some great panel here. We got some great people in the chat already. Let's get into the show.
Yeah, thank you, Mac. Great to have you on. And look, it is cold here in the U.S. You guys were making fun of us here up north in Canada, but it is really cold. It feels like 10 degrees where I'm living right now, or where I live. And we did actually get some snow. We got about 6 inches of snow. And if you know the area, that if you live in the Washington D.C. metro area, you know that when we get 6 inches, it's like we got a foot of snow and things just shut down. So finally got the opportunity to use my snowblower, which I haven't used in 2 years. So that's always fun. But anyhow, and then also with me, another friend from up north, we have Ramon Terrell with us. Ramon, welcome back to BRAP, sir.
Thank you. Very glad to be here. It's going to be a great show. A lot of fun stuff to talk about. And yeah, we're negative at the moment, -2 Celsius, which is roughly about 27 or 28 Fahrenheit. And being from Los Angeles, I never thought I would actually be able to thrive in weather like this. But here we are. So looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, that's man, I tell you, I saw the snow that you got. How much snow did you end up getting tonight or today?
Well, it was originally supposed to be 9 inches, but it's we're cruising around 2 feet.
2 feet?
Like,
really?
Yeah, we're it got up to a foot, and then like I had to shovel, but I'm looking outside right now, and it's collected, untouched. It's getting close to 2 feet.
I'm in Toronto. We still have grass.
That's crazy.
How
is Vancouver? How does Vancouver have? Like,
I don't know.
Between 1 to 2 feet, and Toronto has nothing.
Yep, we have nothing. I mean, I'm right by the lake too, Lake Ontario,
hilarious.
and I mean, I got nothing. I literally still have a lawn. I mean, it's frozen lawn, but there's no snow. It's crazy.
But Mac, did it just snow in Buffalo? Wasn't it like a big?
Yeah, and Buffalo's only an hour and 45-minute drive from me. So and Buffalo's insane because I was watching the Bills game, of course, and watching people literally sitting on snowbanks with their beer sitting inside the snow because they couldn't get to their seats. They're literally just sitting on piles of snow, and and that's like they got like what 2-3 feet of snow in Buffalo, crazy. And I live an hour 45 away because whenever I hook up with Noof Nukem, like he flies out from out west, and we meet in Niagara Falls twice a year, right? So it's only an hour 45, and it's a completely different world. It's wild to me, man. It's completely wild. But anyways, whatever.
I'll just say this: everybody remembers the very first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, right?
Of course.
Yep. Well, when I woke up this morning and saw that snow, I heard Randy Savage, "You ain't going nowhere."
Yeah,
it's the truth. Nobody has gone anywhere.
Yeah, you've got 2 feet of snow. You're not going. You're not going anywhere.
I want that. Can I have it? Like I want a snow day. What the hell? What do I have to keep going to work for?
Max just wants a day off.
Like come on, man.
Oh yeah, dude, it's great. It's great. I've enjoyed myself. Got to catch up on a little bit of Forspoken. I'm having a good time.
That's awesome.
Can I ask you a question? How is that game? I saw it for like $10 or $12 or something like that in GameStop. Like, I mean, is it worth
Forspoken is a potent example of how people need to be more responsible on the internet. Now, what do I mean by that?
All right.
The game. I have gripes about the game. There are certain things that are very annoying. but the game is freaking fun, and I give it a solid 7 out of 10.
All right.
Was it an $89.99 game? No. Is it like? I would even say it's worth 60. Like I would even say it's worth 60. Now we're talking Canadian, of course.
Yeah. No, I swear to God, I saw it.
$5-10. Yeah.
No, it was a little more than that. It was like close to like 12, so probably 15 with tax or whatever. And it was in the what is it called? The replayed section of GameStop. You know, the used games.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a physical. So I'm just like, all right. But I didn't pick it up. I ended up picking up Vanguard for PS5 because I never got that one. So I was just I'll get that first, and then I'll see.
That game is an example of like they had a lot there's a lot of excellent potential there. The game is already good, air quotes good. Yeah. And with a little bit of like Shuhei Yoshida love, this game could have been capital G great. But as it stands, it's well worth the play, in my opinion. The traversal and the combat is a lot of fun. The magic.
All right, I'm in.
Yeah, go for it, man. It's such a good. It's a good game. It has flaws, but it's a good game.
Sorry, Brap. I didn't mean to totally hijack your show. I just wanted to ask him a couple questions. So, how's the DualSense features? Are they fun? Is it cool? Like good, haptic and good sound and all that?
The DualSense features are about average. They don't do anything as well as Returnal or Horizon Forbidden West. But they do little things here and there. You can feel stuff. It's implemented, but just not as good as first party.
Not crazy. Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry, Brap.
No, it's okay. Hey, this is a gaming podcast, you know. So, also want to introduce
Player One Forspoken. Sorry.
No worries. Also want to introduce
the chat.
Also want to introduce a gentleman who's probably experiencing some cold weather as well. B Money. What's up, B?
It is cold. I think it was like 7 today where I'm at. And but just stay in the house, chill with the family, and enjoy some games today. So try to stay out of the cold as much as possible when it's cold like this, but nothing you can do about it.
Nope. Except play some video games, right? Stay indoors, get some gaming in. Absolutely. All right, and then we'll have I'm not sure if Slow-Mo and Forte will be joining us tonight, but Game Logic he did mention he'll be here tonight, so he'll be joining us here a bit shortly. But like Max said, there's a lot of gaming related news, topics, things to talk about. One such thing that's coming up here tomorrow, as a matter of fact, and actually an event that I'm excited for, is the Xbox Developer Direct, which again is tomorrow at I forget the time. I have to pull the time again. But it's tomorrow, and quite a few games are being showed. Look, gentlemen, I'm excited for this. I'm looking forward to seeing Avowed, Indiana Jones. I did watch the new Indiana Jones movie, which is currently streaming on Disney Plus. I did watch that this weekend. It was okay. A little bit of nostalgia. Look, I grew up watching Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I forget the third one with Sean Connery, who plays his father.
Come on, man.
The last
I'm
Crusade.
so matter with you.
Hey,
the Last Crusade, sir.
The Last Crusade. Thank you. Yeah, and I started watching Raiders of the Lost Ark again. But yeah, I mean, look, it got Harrison Ford looked so young in that movie. But
it's crazy.
Yeah, look, the latest, the new Indiana Jones, was it Dial of Destiny? I forget the name of that too.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, it was okay. Like I enjoyed it. But it's Indiana Jones has kind of lost its, I don't know. It's not the same to me anymore. There's been so many Indiana Jones movies now. It's kind of lost its luster, I guess. But it wasn't a bad movie. But there's a lot of nostalgia. A lot of older characters from Raiders of the Lost Ark made a return, and that's all I'll say. I don't want to spoil it too much. But it wasn't a bad movie. It just doesn't pack the same punch Indiana Jones used to have, in my opinion, that it did in the early 80s and then with The Last Crusade. So just my opinion. Yeah. But it is a game that I'm certainly looking forward to tomorrow. And then we're also going to get some Hellblade 2 updates as well. But I would say for me, Avowed, Indiana Jones, and Hellblade 2 are the games that I'm looking forward to seeing or learning a little bit more of from the Developer Direct. So, Mac, I want to go to you. How excited are you for the Developer Direct? And It doesn't sound like we're going to have any stealth releases.
No.
Yeah, I've heard some chatter though. There could be some other cool announcements there. But what's your excitement for tomorrow's Developer Direct like?
I got to tell you, when I was doing XNC with Colt yesterday. By the way, K-Med, I accidentally blocked you on Twitter. It wasn't you I was trying to block. There was some other clown that was being a complete ass. So I blocked him, and I unblocked you. So sorry, there was some drama with over the weekend, as you probably well know.
Yes.
Anyways, back on the topic. I think the only thing that I'm excited for with the Direct tomorrow, to be quite honest, is just Indiana Jones, and it's nothing else. And the thing is, and I did mention this yesterday, and I said, if it wasn't for Indiana Jones coming to the Direct, which I had been told about before New Year's, I knew about it. So I'm like, if Indiana Jones wasn't going to be there, I wasn't going to be very interested in this. You know why? I'll tell you why. One, Avowed did not show very well on its second showing. You remember the first trailer, it just shows the dude's hand on fire and whatever, so that he was able to conjure up some magic, and then it showed all those those arrows coming at you, whatever. And I'm like, all right. And then apparently it was supposed to be a dark fantasy. That was the whole vibe that they had said, they talked about. And then all of a sudden when they showed that gameplay trailer, it looked like Fortnite. And I'm like, what is this? I'm like, come on, guys, with the neon lights and I was like, nah, man, this ain't it. I'm like, this is not showing well. And you know what the thing is? It wasn't just me. It got a very lukewarm response from not just the Xbox community, but from the general public. We're just kind of like, this is not really for me, right? Or at least the vibe was there, right? So there's that. Hellblade, we've seen too much of that game already. And that's something else I actually likened to. You remember when Sony had the marketing for Deathloop? And holy Christ, every single show they had, they kept showing more trailers and more gameplay of Deathloop. And it got to the point where they're, no pun intended, they kept basically playing it to death. And the problem with that is that it just lost I'm like, listen, you show me too much. I just give me the game now. You know what I mean? Get it in my hands, get it into reviewers' hands so I can read reviews, watch reviews on YouTube, whatever. So Hellblade, I'm Hellbladed out. To be quite honest, let me just have the game and play it for myself. So there was no point in showing that game again. The other game, whatever, it was Towerborn or whatever, I wasn't interested. I'm not interested in RTS. So then what does that leave us out with, folks? That leaves us with Indiana Jones. And of course, being a lifelong Tomb Raider fan / Uncharted fan, being two of my, I would say in my top 4 greatest series of all time would be Tomb Raider, Uncharted, would be 2 out of the 4. And you know what I mean? It's just it's just there. So now my other curiosity is, as I had mentioned before, I spoke to somebody from Bethesda, and they had talked to me about how 343, Tango Gameworks, and id Software had all worked on the game. They did not code it. Now, that was the funny thing. I also gotten crap for that too on Twitter and stuff. And I had to correct myself last night because Bethesda, the project manager from Bethesda, actually called me yesterday morning and said, "Hey, dude, can you just change the wording to worked on as opposed to developed, co-developed," because they actually didn't co-develop. They just took portions of the game and worked on it. But the thing is, what do those 3 companies have or 2 out of the 3 have in common? They only do first-person games, right? So that doesn't mean that it's going to be a first-person game, but now my curiosity is piqued because even I don't even know if it's going to be third or first person. I would imagine third person because you're going to go for that Uncharted Tomb Raider feel. But that's what I'm most excited to see. I want to see how it stacks up. The last one we got was Uncharted 4, or we could even say Legacy of Thieves, which was the Uncharted / what was the other one with the girl? Uncharted, what was it called? Help me out.
Lost Legacy.
Lost Legacy.
Remember? Lost Legacy. Yes, thank you.
Fantastic.
So the Uncharted,
yeah, it was a really good game.
Yeah, great game. So Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4 came packaged with that Legacy of Thieves. That's the last sort of Tomb Raiding style game we've got. So it's going to be stacked up against that, and I want to see. And that game is just phenomenal on the PS5. So I want to see how Indy Jones stacks up against it. I'm excited to see it, and that's literally the only reason why I'm tuning in is to see Indy Jones.
Yeah, I will say this with the Avowed, it's Obsidian, so it takes place in the Pillars of Eternity world universe. So I mean, I understand the. I saw a lot of saw a lot of people's reactions when we saw new footage of it, and kind of the aesthetic had changed a little bit from the teaser. But I'm still looking forward to it. It's because it's Obsidian and it's in the Pillars of Eternity universe. Real quick, I do want to welcome Game Logic to the panel. Game Logic, what's going on, man? How are you this evening?
Hello. That's much, man. How are you guys?
Doing well. We were you missed the conversation around snow and cold weather over the start of the podcast.
I didn't miss it. I was out in it, so I lived it.
You lived it. You were born in it. I want to go to Remote. So, Remote, what is your excitement for tomorrow's Developer Direct? Are there any particular games you're looking forward to? Or what games, I should say, you're looking forward to that they're going to showcase tomorrow?
I don't know the whole list, but I do like, for one, Hellblade. We've seen a lot of Hellblade without a lot of Hellblade. Like, I know they finally showed us some gameplay, but what I would like to see is, like, at least just give me like a solid minute of like actual combat, not like sizzle reels, cut combat. But I mean, that said, that's a minor gripe because I enjoyed the first one. The combat didn't bother me, even if in its simplicity. All they needed to do for me to be happy was make the visual puzzles a little more precise, and I'm a happy camper. So I trust Ninja Theory. So I'm in for Hellblade, but I would like to see a little combat. That said, Avowed, the reason I want to see more of Avowed is because, like, I need to see what this game is once and for all finally going to look like, because the original, like you say, the original teaser, I was all in. I was like, man, this looks great, blah, blah, blah. And then when they showed the new art direction and it just looked a little more cartoony, I was disappointed only because it was such a stark contrast. Like, it's almost like, you're expecting to drink like water, but then you get coffee. You know what I mean? Like, coffee's great, water's great, but if you're expecting water and you get coffee, then you're like, what the hell is this? So it was a shock.
Yeah, man, it's almost like it's risky to make judgments on games that are in production pipeline. I know that's a crazy thought, but it just occurred to me with what you're articulating.
I mean, of course, but my thing is when they show you what the I
don't mean you like particular for this particular take, but I just a commentary on so many times we get like super judgmental about whether or not a game's going to be successful or a failure based entirely on what the game looks like, like a year, 2 years before it comes out, when we know or should know by now that like a fairly large amount of evolution happens with the polish of a game, in the last year and a half of development. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no. Are you referring to me, Logic? Am I overexcitement and hype of games from teaser trailers?
I'm slandering everyone who gets super hyped about these games like 2 years before they come out, and I'm like,
I'm like, game of the year.
Or that could also go the other way. That could all go the other way, because I was kind of like, the way Avowed showed didn't show well to me, right? And like the aesthetic is not what I was looking for, and I'm like, what is this? I'm like, why am I fighting a purple octopus? Like, come on! Like, I wanted to fight like like dark woodland fairies with giant fangs or something, like something cool and scary.
I have a game that will scratch that itch for you. It's called Baldur's Gate 3. It's the game of the last 20 years. It's amazing.
We talked about this. I can't do the turn-based thing anymore, man. I can't do it. I just don't have. It's more like a PC thing, like a desktop. For whatever reason, it's turn-based is more PC for me, and I can't do it anymore, man.
That's just why I always say we should wait to pass judgment on games until they're done cooking. We had somebody here in chat yapping at me about how they're already passing judgment on Wolverine based on an alpha build from a leaked footage, and I'm like,
that's silly.
You do you, man.
Yeah, that is really silly for the alpha build. Like, oh my god, his movement looks terrible. I'm like, guys, this is like, we're like, what, 4 years away from release?
I gotta say, though, I was talking to Wandering Dutch about that, and I'm like, the sniffing was kind of funny, though. We got to admit that was a little hilarious. Like, after a while, like, I figure someone was gonna make like a video, like a TikTok video of like someone farting, and then go right to that Wolverine going, making the big sniffing noises, because I mean, it's kind of funny. That sniffing was a little over the top. Well, but Matt, other than that,
there's an opportunity there for you. You're not doing the Jim Ryan stuff anymore. They could do the sniffing video.
I know. I could do.
Maybe hopefully they'll dial it back or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ramon. Go ahead, Ramon.
Sorry, brother. Sorry.
Oh yeah. No problem. But yeah, like I will readily admit that I'm a pretty easy person to please. So the aesthetic doesn't bother me. It's just when they showed me what the game looked like before, I was expecting that. Like when when you show me something and then you show me something that looks literally 180 degrees different, it's a shock. So now that I know what the game looks like, I want to see more of it looking like this, and then I can say, okay, let's, whether I'm liking the direction that it's going. Indiana Jones, I'm kind of 50-50 on, like what we were talking about earlier. Like, I loved the Raiders of the Lost Ark, classic. Temple of Doom, good. Last Crusade, better. That's how I rank them personally. 1, 3, and 2. But I mean, Crystal Skull was where I checked out after
Crystal Skull wasn't
after
good.
Crystal Skull. Yeah, I didn't even bother. Like when they said they were coming out with another one, I was just like, man, just let it go. Like, just let it go. So I didn't even bother with the latest one. That said, if the game can nail it, and the thing is, a lot of talk about, how, they got to be careful with, copying, because, those that took inspiration from Indiana Jones, i.e. Tomb Raider and Uncharted, they don't want to be too similar. The thing is they can do that, but put that seasoning on it that's specific to indie, and put their own seasoning on it to make it different enough. Like, you can do something that's been done, but if you put your own spin on it, it's no problem. So, if they can capture the personality, the essence of Indiana Jones, any of that other stuff, I mean, like right down to the exploration. I mean, there's so many different accents to Indiana Jones that they can throw in there that will differentiate it from the other two, even if the gameplay and everything is similar. So I'm curious. I'm cautiously curious, and I'm hopeful that it's gonna turn out well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then the last one, what was it? What isn't there 4 games they're showing?
Yeah, there's Indiana Jones
some kind of RTS game. I think it's called like Towerborn or something like that.
Okay.
No, they're showing Era History Untold.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, that's.
I thought it was some Towerborn game. It's some RTS game. Anybody know about anything about that?
Yeah, that's the RTS game.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right, thank you.
Well, I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I am interested to see what it looks like. But as far as like, really looking forward to seeing like the other 3 for sure, I'm looking forward to seeing those.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, at the hazard of riling up the panel, I'm going to say that I worry that everyone is, and maybe I'll have to go back in here, Ramon, kind of repeat back to me kind of what he was hoping for, thinking with Indiana Jones. I worry that everyone is hoping for the wrong thing with Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones, when we talk about that character as a mythology, doesn't spend a lot of time shooting. That would be really weird to me.
It would be.
Yeah, for the Indiana Jones game to be any kind of like a shooter.
That's a great point.
Like he fires one bullet in Raiders of the, like literally one bullet in Raiders of the Lost Ark. There was a scene, I think it was in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, or maybe one of the movies, but like he fires a machine gun, or maybe his dad, but I think he fires a machine gun and then he like throws it down and like in disgust.
Yeah, his dad does
and he shoots 2 bullets in Temple of Doom, and then it ends up falling out of the car because Willie burns her hand on the gun or something like that. It falls out. So only 2 bullets. And when he went to pull out the gun at the end of Temple, he didn't have the gun. So you're right. He probably fired about 8 bullets in the whole damn trilogy.
Right.
Man, you know what? You know, Logic, you actually just touched on something that's an incredible opportunity if they can get it right. If they lean into that, number one, because they should, because that's Indiana Jones. But if they lean into not a lot of shooting, but the exploration and the escaping from enemies, escaping from traps, and all of that, if they lean into that and they do that well, man, like.
Well, and here's my thing, and I mean it's sad to say because I love Indiana Jones as a character. I just referred to that character after 20 years now on the scene it's part of American mythology, right? It's the new like Paul Bunyan, right, of the modern times. The sad thing for me to say is that if they do the game the way they should, it should be the type of game that I don't personally like. But that is the way the game should be made if they remain true to the Indiana Jones character. If they lean it towards a shooter, then it's a crutch play. It's a trope, and they're going after the easy money grab. If they're doing something where the game mechanics really align to the ethos of that character. It should be kind of like you said, Ramon. It should be about great escapes. It should really be a very cerebral game.
Yeah,
because what Indiana Jones gets by on is his ability for latching on out of pure luck, like 9 times out of 10, latching on to some wackadoodle, like 1 in a million chance to make an escape out of a situation that seems like it should be impossible. And that to me is almost in my head is almost impossible to craft correctly into a game, but it should definitely lean much more so in that direction than giving him the ability to shoot his way right out of situations.
Exactly.
It sounds like QTE events, and you talk about trying to get out of harm's way, kind of timing these events.
Well, the problem is QTEs. I mean, I have a sordid feeling the way I feel about QTEs, but the problem with QTEs is that there is one way out, right? And the QTE kind of guides you in the direction of the escape. Okay. What should be realized in the design of Indiana Jones is that the player should latch on to an epiphany of how to get out of a given situation. And maybe arguably there should be more than one way right out of a thing. But to be quite honest, I don't really know how you can do that well. Quite frankly, Machine Games doesn't really have that in their pedigree. That seems like more like an Arcane Studios type of thing to maybe try and pull off. So it'll be interesting, to see how it goes.
Yeah, what's interesting is that's a great point there, Logic and Ramon. I think that we talk about Indiana Jones, the character in the movies, doesn't use guns, but I heard you say something about maybe the play is to. I don't know if you use the word cash grab, Logic, but what I got for what you said is like they may be appealing to trying to appeal to a larger market, and maybe a larger market may not want to play a game that's an action adventure game. Maybe some people may compare it to Uncharted, Tomb Raider. Those games use weapons, a variety of different types of weapons. Maybe they designed Indiana Jones in a way that's different from the movies to appeal to a wider audience. Maybe this Indiana Jones does use guns. If they did design it that way, would that take away from like how would you feel as a fan of Indiana Jones, the movies? And I throw this out to the entire panel here. As fans of the movie and the character, how would the panel feel about that if they implemented more gunplay?
I would be disappointed if it's like Indiana Jones. Like I'm just subbing Indiana Jones in for Nathan Drake with the hat and the jacket and the pants and everything, crouched on the cover, and then coming up with a machine gun or a handgun and taking out waves of all these different people. That's not him. You know what I mean? So I mean, as a game, it might be great, and as anyone under 30, it probably might work well. But for anyone who grew up on Indiana Jones, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, well, this is a good game, but this is not a good Indiana Jones game.
Right, and that's the way I would feel about it too. And I had the same feeling and I got crap for it from one of my co-hosts, KG. I had the same problem when Aliens Fireteam came out. Right, Aliens Fireteam to me did some things that maybe it needed to do from a game design perspective and to appeal to a market, but there were things about the motifs of that game that didn't ring true to me in terms of the aliens mythology. In that, like, I mean, it tries to put humans on kind of an even level with the aliens, with the xenomorphs, and like that is inherently not what the aliens mythology is right? We're constantly going in and getting our asses kicked, right? To put it in actually Hudson's quoted terms, right? So, like the notion of Aliens Fireteam I have a problem with that just from a mythology perspective and the way that fiction is really woven, and that's not unusual for me, right? Being somebody who's deep into like science fiction and some of these other things. And so I get it. I get it. That may be the type of thing that doesn't bother other people. But like Ramon is saying, like it wouldn't be something that I would be interested in playing personally.
Yeah. I want to welcome Forte to the panel here quickly. Forte, what's up, man? How are you, Forte?
It's cold.
Yeah, it's cold here too. Hey, go Lions, by the way.
Oh, I'm going to the game. So yeah, go Lions.
I'll meet you there, sir.
Come on down, man. Hey, we still got some tickets in the nosebleed section.
Me and Forte are going to.
How do you still have tickets?
Yeah, how do you have tickets? You guys?
That should be sold out like the second they won that last game.
Oh no.
Yeah.
See, no, they are sold out now. Well, no, they had the standing room only tickets, and then they added some upper bowl tickets, like we were talking about at the very, very top of the stadium, and those tickets are still going for like $562 a seat.
Oh yeah,
Wow,
sure.
wow,
Easily. It's
Yeah.
going to be Detroit Buffalo in the Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now.
Oh, that's a hot.
It's going to be the two Cinderella teams.
Man, that's a hot take.
Cinderella teams.
So
What do you mean hot take? They're in there now, aren't they?
Yeah, but Super Bowl? Come on, man.
Telling you.
Well,
Detroit Buffalo. It's going to be the battle of the Cinderella teams.
Literally, the only team I'm scared of is San Francisco. That's it. Nobody else.
Get out of here. Let me tell you something. Look, Detroit, we all know, is the Cinderella team from the NFC, and Buffalo had literally 6 weeks ago a 5% chance to make it to the playoffs. And look at them now. So, you know what I'm saying?
As much as I would agree with you on that, I would say Green Bay is kind of that right now, because that team actually came into Detroit on Thanksgiving Day and whooped our ASS.
Yes.
And that was kind of the reason
Dallas's.
why. And that's the reason I kind of picked them to beat Dallas, because the Lions barely lost to them at home. And Green Bay, I was like, and Green Bay has beat Dallas 10 straight times in a row. This is 11. So Green Bay is kind of the team I'm like, that team is kind of scary, but they still ain't as scary as San Francisco if they're all clicking.
Detroit has heart, and heart beats
Detroit!
everything.
Detroit going to make it there. I'm with you.
Yep.
They in the Super Bowl. I got them
you
all
play
the
with
way.
emotion. You play with emotion. It's gonna outdo. I'm telling you, it's gonna outdo the talent. I'm telling you right now. Your boy Roy. Look at him. He's like they're not gonna make it to the Super Bowl. Of course they are. Josh Allen runs more. Allen runs more than like all the running backs combined. That 52-yard run, I almost jumped out of the ceiling. Unbelievable. Anyways, back to gaming. Stuart Forte he brought the NFL to the show.
Hey, listen,
sports.
It's all about those sports, baby.
Yeah, sports.
Michigan Wolverines and everything. Let's go. But
right.
it's cold. It's cold outside. It's really cold outside. That's what's been going on.
Yeah. I want to go to B Money here real quick. And then you Forte. B. What are the out of all the 4 games that they're showing? What game are you looking forward to hear a little bit more about in the developer direct tomorrow?
The only game I really want to see is Avowed, to be totally honest. I really loved their last game. Their last, major RPG. And, everybody was, talking about how, the teaser trailer looks totally different from what the actual game looks like. But if you look at all their work, it all kind of looks the same at the end of the day. I didn't expect them to have this like super polished, quadruple A looking game from Obsidian, because that's just not what they do. So for me, like I'm cool, on how the game looks. I just want to see, know more about the world and what we should expect as far as how big the game is going to be and how long the game should last. Other than that, I mean, that's really about it. I'm not like a huge fan of Indiana Jones coming out. Like just those type of games now. Like I even think like even with like Uncharted and like the next Tomb Raider game, I think those games are gonna struggle to really have like big audiences when they come back out. I don't think they're gonna do as well as like the previous Uncharted games did, and we all know that Square Enix has never been a fan of how well Tomb Raider sold, even with it being on all those consoles and PC. It never really did what they expected to. So I think those games are going to struggle big time when they actually come back out. So Indiana Jones is not really something I'm looking forward to, and Hellblade, I'm there day one. I don't really need to see anything else from that. Big fan of Ninja Theory and all the stuff that they work on, so I don't need to see more of that at all, and I don't really care about the RTS game, so it's just Avowed for me.
So let me ask you something, B. Why do you think like those action adventure games in the vein of Uncharted, why do you think that wouldn't work? 2024, 2025.
Because you gotta think like all the like kids that are playing games now, they don't care about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
those aren't the games that I look for. If we just look at like the highest selling games, or like the games that catch the biggest audience, it's always the RPGs. They always top the charts. Like those other games, they'll have their dedicated audience, the 4 or 5 million or whatever. Like, but they're not doing like crazy numbers. Like Uncharted did like 20 million. Uncharted 4 did like 20 million units. So I don't see it ever touching that again.
Okay. Not to beat a dead horse with the Indiana Jones thing, but I was just thinking about like if Indiana Jones, the video game, if using a weapon, a gun was part of the combat, I think for me, if the rest of the game and those set pieces where you need to escape and be quick on your feet, and the game, the design of the game, the gameplay's fun, everything else clicks, good story. I may look past the game having weapons or guns. That's
because you're not a real Indiana Jones fan.
Oh, come on! See, I
gotta say,
look, you're AAA BRAP. You're AAA BRAP. You want to play the bangers, regardless of whether or not they're true to the material. So you just do you.
So
seriously, if you were shooting every 5 minutes in Indiana Jones, that to me would literally feel gross and would feel like as much of a material person as I am, that would feel like super commercial.
I think if the rest of the game overall was good, it had a good story, it was fun, great action adventure set pieces, those big escape sequences, scenes that we're used to seeing in the movie, they're in the game. You would imagine there's probably going to be some puzzle elements in the game. Yeah, those puzzle elements are good. It may not bother me as much.
Here's the thing, Brad. I heard on very good authority here that Todd Howard, who's been overseeing the game, obviously.
Are they going to be sandwiches?
Oh, well, that means we're going to be. You know what that means, back?
Sandwiches and load screens.
No, we're gonna be able to stack monkey brains. Remember the chilled monkey brains? We're going to be able to stack monkey brains.
Chilled monkey brains. Now, apparently, he's a huge Indiana Jones fan. I'm only bringing this up just for context. I'm just thinking to myself now. And apparently, he's a huge Indiana Jones fan, and he's been trying to get this project off the ground for years. And it finally happened, right? So the thing is, if he's a huge Indiana Jones fan, just like Game Logic was saying, he would know that Indy Jones is not a trigger-happy, character. He's not a Nathan Drake. He's not, whatever. Even Lara Croft with her twin guns, right? So, and I'm talking about the ones in her belt, not the ones in her chest. But the thing is, at the end of the day, is that,
oh boy,
hey man. So the thing is that he knows that. So I think that if he's such a huge Indiana Jones fan, he's been trying to get this project off the ground for years, he may want to keep it faithful to the character. So I'm very interested to see now that I got that little piece of information, I'm like, I need to see exactly what the hell. Because, I mean, it's going to be a 10-minute expose, apparently, right? Oh, so wow. We're going to get it. Yeah, apparently it's going to be it doesn't mean it's 10 minutes of gameplay. It's going to take up 10 minutes of this 48-minute show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we probably should get some decent information from it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just I lean back on I can't rely on that right until the game is actually out because during all of the Starfield workups, and we saw a crap ton of Starfield, there was nothing that told me I was going to be living the loading screens like I was living when that game came out. There was nothing that told me like that the rough edges on that game like were going to be the problems that were kind of in my face. And I mean if from a literary perspective and a mythology perspective, a story weaving perspective, if that's got Todd Howard's touch, maybe that's okay. But at the end of the day, I've talked about kind of this cyclical generation of design leaders in the industry across the 50-year history and kind of where we are with a lot of them that kind of were on the come up in the early 2000s. I mean, Todd Howard's star is on the decline. And so him having his hands on it doesn't necessarily give me a ton of confidence.
I don't think he had his hands in it. What I'm saying is I'm thinking that he has his input in the style of game that he was going for. That's you know what I mean? Like, but the thing is, you're not wrong. Like, I look at Todd Howard now. You play Starfield, and I said it in another show, and I said, yeah, it was a great game for 2012. Right, and it plays like an older game, like you know what I mean. It plays like an older
shiny
game.
new antique. Shiny
yeah,
new antique.
exactly. And I'm just kind of like, I did this before in the PS3 360 era, right? So that's kind of how it felt like, you know. And so I'm just like, okay, well, maybe his time is whatever. But I'm just saying from the input point of view, maybe. I mean, I'm just trying to provide a different angle. But we will find out in less than 24 hours. So either way.
The player says, same with Kojima. Player, you haven't played all the Kojima games for you to be saying that, by the way. I want to go to Forte real quick. Forte, developer direct tomorrow. You guys have DPS tomorrow, so I'm sure you guys will be talking about this. Out of the 4 games they're showing, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, man. I really don't need to see anything for Hellblade, but that's like literally the only game I care about that's coming out this calendar year next to Final Fantasy Rebirth. So I'm really looking forward to just seeing more on that. I can never see more on that. I love that game. I love the first one so much. I just can't wait to just play that game. Outside of that, it's just I want to see the direction they're going in a lot of other games. Like Avowed, I was kind of taken back a little bit at first when I first saw the trailer. The not the trailer, but the reveal that they actually did for it. And it's mostly not due to the fact. It's not to the fact that I don't like the way the aesthetic of it looks. I just hate when companies do trailers that show you one thing and then it's something else later. You know, they showed this more medieval style look of the game and everything, and then they show what they show, which and then B Money's right. It's more in the wheelhouse of what Obsidian does. So I don't have a problem with it. It's just I hate when they showcase one thing and then it's something else later. That's why I always told people when they showed State of Decay for the first time, I was like, there is no way State of Decay 3 is going to look that good. I was like, don't even fix your face to think it's going to look this good. So I hate when they do that, but I'm definitely interested to see what direction they go and how it's going to play out. Just like everybody else, Indiana Jones is going to probably be the hot topic. Because I'm all of favor with everything everybody's saying about how's this game going to play. You know, I don't mind third person, but I also like a way of mixture of toggling probably between the two. Of course, there's a lot of more development stuff that has to go into that so you can actually make everything function the way you need it to function. I do agree having a weapon in Indiana Jones seems criminal. Even though in one of the best scenes in Indiana Jones history is him shooting somebody with a sword, shooting somebody while he had a gun and they had a sword. So it does happen. But I don't think that should be the main focal point. I mean, I think a weapon should be available when it comes to something like that, but on a case-by-case basis. Maybe cooldowns or maybe have you don't see Indiana Jones running around with mags and stuff. So maybe he does go into every mission with a gun that's full. But once that gun is empty, you have to use other things to be able to get through those levels and stuff, basically other gameplay elements to kind of help yourself get through it. But that gun is there to help you get out of tight situations if you're in them and stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think
especially
something like
facing Nazis, right?
Right. I think stuff like that. I do think that it shouldn't be a situation where you could probably pick up weapons or something like that. That should be kind of thrown out. But him going into engagements and stuff with his own side piece or whatever he uses, I think that's okay as long as they're not overdoing it. But the puzzle element should be something that's super.
Wait. Forte with his.
Did you just say side piece?
With his side arm, not his side piece.
No, side piece. His side piece. Listen,
it's called a side arm. It's called a side arm.
I know what it's called. I know what it's called, but I call it his side piece because it's literally the thing that is literally. Listen.
Look, man, side piece is what we do on Friday nights. That's not what Indiana Jones rolls with.
The imagery that invokes is hilarious.
Hey, that's good. Hey, guess what? You know what was the name of the movie? Face Off, when what's the name? We'll talk about his two guns and he called them his side pieces. That's what I'm talking about. Castor Troy.
He was also a freaking sexual deviant, but okay.
That's true. That's very true. One of the best roles that Nicolas Cage ever played. But
this is true.
but
Maybe
no, okay.
the best.
Maybe literally the best role he's ever played as Castor Troy. One of the best movies John Travolta's played too. But I think those are some of the things that a lot of people are going to be looking forward to. It's the most intriguing game that they have at this showcase because nobody knows what is going to be and what's it's going to be about and what the overall ambience of the game is going to be. And it's not like the movies have helped it because the movies of lately have been pretty horrific. But I truly hope that they don't have to stick 100% to like the Indiana Jones formula because it is a game, but I do hope that they take a lot of the hallmarks of the puzzle solving and finding your way out of tight situations that are not traditional, FPS, pick up a gun and shoot your way out of it. I think those are definitely some things that I would like to see. And the cool thing is we'll find out in less than basically 14 hours at this point. So looking forward to that. But Hellblade for me will always be the thing that I'm looking forward to until it comes out.
That's one thing we haven't mentioned. If there's a thing that they do need to get right and nail, it needs to be the melee. Like that Indiana Jones kind of barroom brawling style.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Needs to fit. It needs to fit the character.
And they also what I'm going to call escape set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
big action set pieces.
Big action set pieces, but escape set pieces. Because if you look at Indiana Jones, he's always escaping from like these just ridiculously over the top situations. Of course, we don't have to go overboard.
Jumping off a train or like
the other thing that we're all ignoring is it has to be an intriguing MacGuffin, like the actual object that he's going after or the story, you know what I mean? Like the story itself. It has to be intriguing, it has to be awe-inspiring, it has to be exciting. Otherwise, people are not going to care either. Right, so they're not going to get as invested if the MacGuffin is not like the Lost Ark of the Covenant. What an amazing MacGuffin that was! The Holy Grail.
Holy Grail. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the Cup of Christ, and then of course the Shankara stones in India and whatever else. Interesting. Yeah. So this
are you trying to say that the Dial of Destiny wasn't worth your time?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Like the Dial of Destiny,
even though it wasn't bad. I mean, there was a part of that movie that didn't.
The Crystal Skull.
That was bad.
Oh my God!
Yeah, but Mag has a really good point. Like, it really needs. I mean, I hate to say it needs to, puppet another game, but it really needs to grab some of that historical gravitas that the best Assassin's Creed games are grounded in.
Yeah,
and really bring like that type of element into the game.
Yeah, maybe they'll have Indiana Jones searching for first-party exclusives on Xbox. Oh, sorry, couldn't help. It was a joke. Very bad joke, but
oh my God,
it was a joke. It was a joke. Couldn't help myself. But
it's gonna be it's when he finally gets the MacGuffin at the very end. It's gonna be a little piece of paper sitting next to it, coming to PlayStation and ...
Oh, come on, Forte.
Well, see what I was gonna say. What I was gonna say is he lifts up an artifact and it has PlayStation roadmap under it.
Oh man.
Oh my God,
Mag, what did you say? He lifts up what? Did you say?
No. I was gonna just jump on the same joke, but no, it's all good. It is called the Great Circle, if I'm not mistaken. The Great Circle, the Big Circle, the Great Circle, and the Great Circle. If my understanding is, it's something to do with different countries connected from the equator. So there's something there because of course hundreds of thousands of years ago the land masses were different, right? They called them land bridges because the continents that we have now, and anybody knows that to the tectonic shifting, all ripped apart. But at one point they were all connected, like all from Africa.
Continent.
Yeah, and like Africa was like the central point, and then all the other continents like were attached to it, and then there was something about that called the Great Circle, and it was something interesting there, and that's why you can find pyramids and you can find pyramids in some parts of Africa, Mexico, South America, and Egypt. I mean, I know Egypt is part of Africa, but you know what I'm saying? And so you're like, how the hell did they get them here and there? Well, because they all live together. And I think that that's going to correlate somewhere in the story of what they called the Great Circle, which used to be a connective tissue between the entire planet. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do. But yeah, so we'll see how it goes. I don't know. We'll find out. Like I said, like Forte said, like 14 hours, 15 hours, whatever it is, we'll find out. So
yeah. No, that's actually a great point, Mag. about that MacGuffin piece. I didn't even think about that. Like, you're right.
The
Like,
MacGuffin is always the central point, right? Because it's always
Yeah.
Indiana Jones and right,
yeah,
and the fill in the blank.
It needs to be something good too. And it's funny when I heard Machine Games, I was thinking I would imagine if they, because Machine Games with Return of Castle Wolfenstein, obviously they kind of an alternative World War II with the Nazis and everything, but I wonder if we'll see Nazis in this video game adaptation. I mean,
early Nazis, because this takes place between Temple of Doom and Raiders. So if because Temple of Doom is a prequel, right? Even though it came out after, it's a prequel sequel. So it takes place 1 year before Raiders, and then this game takes place in that 1 year off between Temple and Raiders.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's 1936, if I'm not mistaken.
So that's
interesting.
That's
so
like
1936.
That's right, the start
that's
of the rise
early.
of Nazis.
I was gonna say that's early Nazis. They weren't really at the height of their power till like the late 30s and up until 1940, right?
Yeah.
So this would be just the early beginnings of the Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, great conversation, by the way, Indiana Jones. Play Live Chat. Xbox influencers are hoping it's Uncharted Tomb Raider clone. I haven't heard any Xbox influencers say that, but I will say this: I hope people aren't looking at this game to be like the Uncharted killer or the Tomb Raider killer. Just let this game stand on its own merits and judge it based on that.
SIL in the chat: Indiana Jones and the Todd of Howard. I couldn't say.
That's actually pretty funny.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, and T. Harris, you got a good point there too. He's like, Indiana Jones, you just want to make sure it's not the same old ass engine that they've been utilizing before. So hopefully it's something, that doesn't feel old. Like Harrison Ford.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I love him. I'm just making jokes.
Yeah. I mean, Harrison, he tell you what though, he's 81.
He's amazing.
Doesn't look bad for 81.
And he could still move, man.
Yeah. I tell you, I hope when I'm 81, I can move like Harrison Ford. And
I see 81-year-olds sitting around eating pudding. So, like, I mean, the fact that he's jumping around doing, filming movies and doing stuff and punching people and exercising and working out and, whatever. He's still doing stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, good for him.
Yeah, he definitely is. Yeah, all right. I do want to move on to anyone else have any thoughts before we wrap up the Developer Direct tomorrow? Before we move on here,
my only last thing is, I've said it before, and I will double down on it. Obsidian was the crown jewel in the acquisition pickups from Xbox, and they don't miss. So
much agreed. Agreed.
That's why I'm looking forward to Avowed. I mean, Obsidian. I don't disagree. Obsidian, I thought, is their best acquisition. They do Bethesda games better than Bethesda does. So they make the best Skyrim, or not Skyrim. I'm sorry. Fallout Vegas. All right, I'm going to move on to. Yep, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say Obsidian is Xbox's Insomniac. Maybe not output, of course, because I mean it's Insomniac, but as far as like really getting a big gem, for what they got, I think it's their best get recently.
I mean, arguably they're the only ones who have really consistently put anything out besides like Bethesda.
Yeah.
I mean, and when I say Bethesda, I mean Bethesda, the publisher, right? The whole group.
Yeah. They've put out some good games. All right, I do want to move on to GDC. So GDC is taking place March 18th to the 22nd in San Francisco. And so as we have discussed on the show numerous occasions, a lot of people upset, not pleased with the Keeleys or the Game Awards show. And on this channel, we've talked about, hey, look, there are other award shows that you should pay attention to, like the BAFTAs, like the DICE Awards, and like GDC or the Golden Joysticks, which takes place in the UK. And I think the Golden Joysticks, if I'm not mistaken, the fans actually vote for the winners, and then the journalists vote for the nominees. So, but the GDC, the Game Developer Conference, has announced the nominees for the GDC Game Developers Choice Awards, and going to go down the list here. By the way, Logic, Baldur's Gate 3 leads. Baldur's Gate 3 actually, and Tears of the Kingdom lead with the most nominations. Baldur's Gate 3 is probably going to win everything. No bias here on my part, but so I'm going to go down the list here of the nominees in the different categories here. Give me a second here. I'll pull the website back up. All right, best audio: Baldur's Gate 3, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Venba. I saw Venba, I think, in the being nominated in the DICE Awards, but I don't think that was something the game that was nominated for the Keeleys. Best debut: Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Venba, Viewfinder. Best design: Baldur's Gate 3, Cocoon, Dredge, Hi-Fi Rush, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Innovation Award: Baldur's Gate 3, Cocoon, Hi-Fi Rush, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. The making of Karateka. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Best narrative: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, and Venba. Social Impact Award: A Space for the Unbound, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Baldur's Gate 3, Terra Nil, Venba. Best Technology: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Starfield got a nomination here. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Best Visual Art: Alan Wake 2, Cocoon, Final Fantasy 15, Hi-Fi Rush, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Game of the Year: Baldur's Gate 3, Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Marvel Spider-Man 2, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. So those are the nominees for the different categories for the Game Developers Choice Awards. Now, I just looking at the nominees here, very similar to DICE. They're games that weren't nominated or in some of these categories in the Keeleys, but like for the Game of the Year awards, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Legend of Zelda, those have been pretty consistent for Game of the Year nominations across DICE, GDC, and the Keeleys. The ones Dave the Diver being there was nominated the Keeleys for, I think, Best Indie. I think there was some controversy around that. Cocoon I saw being the Game of the Year conversation, if I'm not mistaken, at the DICE Awards too. So any thoughts? Throw this out to the panel. Feel free, whoever wants to chime in. But any thoughts on the nominees here for the GDC Awards?
Actually, I'm going to jump in because I got to go.
Yeah.
I got to bow out. But it seems pretty on par with everything that you've said so far with all the other different awards. I mean, it's the same. It's going to be the same players. Your Baldur's Gate, a sprinkle of Alan Wake, and then the thing to watch out for is this Cocoon game. That's gonna scoop up a couple awards. I'm telling you right now, like maybe some of the art design or the innovation award or anything like that. That might do it. Hi-Fi Rush might pick up an audio. Maybe because it's an audio cued game, and of course the way that they integrated the sound and the music in with the visuals is also very interesting and immersive, right, and fun to watch, and not just watch but also to play. So I see Baldur's Gate cleaning up again, because I mean at the end of the day, does it really have that much competition if you really think about it? I mean Alan Wake 2 is a fantastic game. It's a great narrative, but at the end of the day, it just seems that Baldur's Gate seems to be the better played game, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like it's and Alan Wake 2, for all its credence and all its awards, in fact, wasn't actually adopted by as many people as people thought. You know what I mean? It did well, but it didn't do incredibly well. And I think Baldur's Gate clearly, a lot more gamers gravitated towards Baldur's Gate 3. So I think we're going to see pretty similar reactions and pretty similar results that from what we got from the last two awards. Not much to say there, to be quite honest, but I think it's going to be more of the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think see that, especially like the Game of the Year nominee.
Game of the Year is going to be it's going to be the same thing, and it's still going to win. I don't see anything else that's. I mean, it's not for me, but it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate what the game is doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't not every game has to speak to every gamer. And it's just like a movie or a book or any other form of media, right? Or any entertainment. Not all of it's going to speak to you, but at the same time, I can appreciate that it is of top quality. And Alan Wake 2 is also of top quality. I'm playing it right now. I'm about 3/4 through the game. I'm actually on the second last level. Fantastic game. But, for me personally, it's falling a little short of the Game of the Year category. I would have actually I still think Resident Evil 4 Remake is still a better game. But that's just me. And like I said, those are personal tastes. But I say it's still Baldur's Gate 3 is going to clean up these awards. When is the awards, by the way? When is that actually going live?
That is let's see here. I know GDC is the 18th and 22nd of March.
Yeah, that's this. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so another 2 months.
Yeah, so another 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, you get DICE. I thought we got the BAFTAs in between, and then the IGF GDC Awards. I thought that was the sequence.
That is insane. So there's like five different award shows in the matter of like basically 4 months.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Mac, everyone puts their their weight into the Keeleys. I mean, there's
hey, you know what though? The guy, you got to give it to the guy. He marketed himself pretty damn well. You know what I mean? I mean, he put himself out there. He got the sponsors. He made a big splash. He got people to notice, and that's what you got to do. You got to sell the sizzle, and he sold the sizzle. So you got to give him that. Even if you don't like the guy or you don't like the way he sold the sizzle, and people watch the show, so they put their weight behind that show. And of course, it's also, isn't it the first award show of the season anyway? So that kind of sets the precedent for the rest of the award season, so to speak, right? So, interesting, but we shall see. Anyways, BRAP, gentlemen, chat, I do have to bow out. Yes, I could only give BRAP an hour tonight. So, yeah, we'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely, Mac. We have to get you back on again soon. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Everybody have a great evening.
With you, Mac.
Yes, man. You too, brother. You too. And everybody else, have a great evening. We'll talk soon. And hey, game positive and have a good time out there. All right? We'll talk soon. Later.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Mac. Appreciate it.
Mac.
All right. So any other thoughts on the nominees here for the GDC Awards?
Well, for me, I wish there was a best action adventure so Spider-Man could win something, because it deserves to win something. But I don't see a category on here that Spider-Man can win. I mean, Game of the Year is just absolutely out of the question. As good as, I freaking adored Spider-Man 2, but there's just no way. Like, if it wasn't Baldur's Gate, it would be Legend of Zelda. So I'm saying Baldur's Gate for Game of the Year. Best audio, I just finished Hi-Fi Rush last week, and it was freaking fantastic. So I would definitely give it best audio. Debut, I finished Cocoon before Spider-Man, before Hi-Fi Rush. Cocoon, I was not expecting to like it as much as I was expecting to like it, but I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. That game was really, really good. It was a lot of fun. So I see that getting at least 1, maybe 2 awards. Innovation is, I would throw innovation to Legend of Zelda, because how the hell they squeezed that much juice out of the Switch and they changed Hyrule into like it's the same Hyrule, but everything's different.
There's
and
like
then you have the
three
sky,
layers to Hyrule, basically.
3 layers. Exactly, like the Sky Islands and then the underground. Like, it's just insane. So I mean, I don't see how it couldn't get innovation on that alone. Like, I don't know how they got the Switch to do that, but
yeah. And the game runs really well too. It
runs really well. How they got that locked at 30? I think it's locked at 30 frames per second. But I mean, considering the hardware it's on, and they got it to sing like that, it's a marvel. So. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how all this shakes out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, moving on. Let's see here. So, has anyone played the Prince of Persia Lost Crown demo? I meant to play it this evening because I wanted to talk about it for the show, but I just didn't get around to it. But that game is actually reviewing very well right now. It's currently sitting at a 86 on Metacritic, and again, the reviews have been very positive. I think a great way to kick off 2024. But has anyone had the chance to play the demo or the game?
I refuse, because it's in my wish list, and I'm going in blind when I get to it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. What about you, Forte? Is this something you've checked out?
I have not played it yet. I have it installed on my Xbox, and I was going to play it tonight after this show, but I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, everyone's making fun of me. They're like, that would mean BRAP putting down Baldur's Gate 3. Look,
You're going to put it down.
Didn't you get that on PS5? And you already had it on PC?
We're not talking about that.
Why?
I wanted to play it on console, get trophies. I tell you, I just it's one of my favorite games.
I'll give you that because the trophies can't feel good when they pop. So
look, it's one of my favorite games I've played. I mean, it's really a gem to me. I haven't felt this way about a game in a long time. But yeah, Bridie's like cross save, dude. No, I'm playing from start to finish. It's definitely a game on my radar. Prince of Persia. I did watch some of the gameplay footage of people playing the game. The aesthetic looks great. The combat, the traversal looks great. Very much a Metroidvania type game. I was talking to Game Logic earlier today. I think you described it. It kind of reminded you a little bit of was it Ori? Will o' the Wisp? I think that's what you.
Yeah, definitely gives me that vibes from some of the footage that I've seen.
Yeah. So
Forte, any idea of how it's been playing at retail? Like any insight on like what the pre-orders look healthy or anything like that?
Yeah, pre-orders look fine. I mean, I think right now the thing with pre-orders is a lot of people are just getting back
like
into
side
the
piece
swing
fine,
of it because.
Forte?
What'd you say?
Like side piece fine?
Yeah. Not side piece fine. That's reserved for games like Final Fantasy. Because that has multiple side pieces in it. But no, it did pretty well with pre-orders at least in our area of the world and stuff. I think a lot of people right now are still recouping from the holidays. You got tax season right around the corner, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those games that word of mouth really, really sells it after the fact, after it releases and stuff. Because it really wasn't that strong of a pre-order. It was decent enough, but it's going to probably pick up, especially with these numbers that it's getting from Metacritic and everything. I think a lot of people are going to be more interested in it because I don't think it was on a lot of people's radar, honestly.
Yeah, it's have the pre-orders, have they been mostly like on Nintendo Switch or PlayStation, Xbox?
It's been mostly PlayStation. I take that back. It's been mostly Switch.
Yeah.
Mostly Switch, then PlayStation, sprinkle in Xbox a little bit there too. So that's kind of where it's been sitting at for like a little bit. For a lot of the games that have multi-platform releases between all three consoles at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about picking this up for my Switch.
I was actually thinking about buying it for the Switch. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about doing too, Forte. Thinking about getting it for the Switch. I feel like this is a game that I could just sit back on the couch on my Switch and just enjoy it, you know. Anyone else? B, did you check out the demo for Prince of Persia? B, we lose B.
B, like I don't want to be a part of this conversation.
Yeah, B's like I don't care about Prince of Persia, therefore I won't comment. Yeah, the other the other demo that came out too was Grandblue Fantasy Relink, which I actually did play, and this game wasn't on my radar, but I gotta say I really enjoyed the demo. I was actually surprised. The action, the combat was fun. Kind of remind me of Tales of Arise in the combat, but this was a game that, like I said, wasn't on my radar, and I'm probably going to pick up on PC now. It was a nice little palate cleanser for me since I've spent like over 300 hours on Baldur's Gate 3. Did anyone else play the demo for Grandblue Fantasy Relink?
And I'm in exactly the exact same situation as Prince of Persia. The minute I saw the first trailer, I went into my wish list. I seen a few people play it, and it's like, nope, I'm just gonna go in blind. It looks so good. It looks so freaking good.
Yeah, the combat was a lot of fun. Ramon.
Man,
like just
the combat,
like the chain combos. It was like my kids were watching me play it. They're like, "Oh, we want to play this." It's probably a game I wouldn't let my 5-year-old play it, but like my 9-year-old definitely let him play this game. I mean, it was nice coming off of Baldur's Gate 3 to pick up this game and just have this combat where you didn't have to think too much. You could just do, you had this kind of like Devil May Cry combat. You had this. It reminded me of Tales of Arise, and aesthetically, I thought the game looked really well. I was kind of surprised that, and maybe this is something that changes retail release, but the performance mode was only 1080 60 FPS or 60 frames, and I was kind of like, I don't know, like And that's why I'm leaning towards picking this game up on PC. And you can play this game co-op as well. I think Slow-Mo Forte is actually going to be picking this up on PC as well.
I'm getting it on PC.
As you should, Ramon.
The performance mode is like that because you have so many of those characters on screen.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason why.
And they do move pretty quickly.
The party size is like it's 5 characters, right?
No, is it 5? I thought it was 4. I think it's myself and 3 other people.
Yeah, it's 4 characters.
But the combat's fast.
Yeah, it's like that combat, man. I was getting tired just watching.
And there's a lot of
tired of watching it.
Yeah. So, B-Money, did you get a chance to play the demo?
Of course I did, man. I've been waiting on this game for like 6 years, bro.
You tweeted that out. Like, was it 2016 that you tweeted this out?
Yeah, man. I had it when they first showed it before, like we knew what console was coming to. I DM'd Phil Spencer. I was like, "Yo, you gotta check this game out. You gotta bring it to the West." He never responded, so I was like, "All right, whatever." So then I just did like a public tweet. I tweeted PlayStation. I tweeted Xbox. Like, "Yo, I don't know what's going on, but somebody needs to pick up the phone and get this game over to the West and bring it to console." And then nobody responded to the tweet or whatever. But then like a couple years later, Side Games comes out and they said that they're releasing the game on PlayStation. So I was like, is it coming to the West? Like they didn't verify. So we went back and forth for like another year. And they finally said they're bringing the game to the West. So I've been waiting for this game for a very long time. Even when Platinum was attached to it and they were the ones who were actually doing the combat, like I was super excited about the game because it's like you said, it reminds me a lot of Tales games. And it reminds me of why can't I think of the game? Xenoblade. Like as far as like the party system and like combined attacks and things like that. It's the same type of setup. So been super excited for this game. Soon as they announced the demo, downloaded it right away, started playing. I probably played the demo for like 10 hours because there's 3 different things you can check out on the demo. And really enjoyed it. I'm there day one, man. This is right on my app.
Yeah, B. I wasn't planning on picking this up, but after that demo, I'm grabbing it on PC, and I'm definitely gonna be playing this. Like it's gonna be the game that takes me off Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah,
I'd never even heard of it before, and then the first time they showed it, I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" And then like I looked it up a little bit, and then every once in a while, you see some footage or something like that, and then so I was sold at that point. And then it originally went into my wish list on PS5, but then in October when I built my rig, I was like, okay, I'm moving over. So when I copied my wish list over to Steam, like I just been just kind of waiting. And then when the demo dropped, and I've seen a few friends who posted gameplay footage, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm in. So this might be the game that gets me to break my backlog rule, because I got a little too aggressive with the Steam Winter Sale. Green Man, GOG, all of them. I got a little too aggressive, so my backlog went from 1 game to 10. So usually I put myself on restriction, but this one I might have to make an exception.
Man, those Steam sales will get you, man.
Oh my God!
And
it's my first year, so I'll be prepared to withstand next year. But they got me. They got me good this year.
And Epic actually had a pretty good winter sale as well. They were giving you like, you could pick up Alan Wake 2 as for like $24 if you use the
damn.
They had like a online
discount or holiday.
Yeah, holiday coupon, right? Is that what it was, B?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So I mean they they those I mean
oh man.
They wait for the Steam summer sales. Oh yeah.
Dude, Steam, Green Man Gaming, GOG, and CD Keys. All of them combined, it's just dangerous.
I live on Green Man Gaming. I got that thing maxed out.
Ramon, hey Ramon, By the way, welcome to real video gaming. By the way.
Oh my God! No, that's listen. Listen, stop it. That is not real video gaming. Real video gaming.
There's no
real
PC
video
slander
gaming
here.
is where you decide to play games. As I didn't. No. I didn't say nothing about no slandering.
That's like saying, but going to McDonald's is experiencing real hamburgers. We know that's not true, Forte.
I didn't. No. I will never say that. I'm just saying wherever you decide to enjoy your gaming is a great place to be. That's all.
Look, I'm gonna say it like this: the current gen consoles is like a Toyota Supra, which is a kick-ass, badass, fast car, and PC is like a McLaren. I love my Supra, and I love my McLaren. I drive my McLaren more now, but that don't mean that I don't walk into the garage and look at my Supra and be like, God damn, that's.
But all PCs aren't McLarens though. Let's be for real.
Oh, okay.
Well, you just happen to have a McLaren for a PC.
Okay, well, I don't have a McLaren. I'll say I probably have like a Lamborghini, not quite a McLaren.
Oh God, he's not just gonna take $100,000 off the price of it. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna drop $100,000 off this thing. It's not that just yet. I'm riding around in the P5, a P1. Let's go.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, that's funny.
All right. Yeah. So that game, day one for me. It sounds like B's picking up as well. Forte, sounds like you're getting it too.
I already got it. It's installed, baby.
Okay. Ramon, you're picking it up. Logic, are you picking up any interest in Grandblue Fantasy Relink?
Slow-mo taught me into Grandblue Fantasy because he got me kind of hot.
Yeah, we may have lost Logic.
Yeah, we lost him.
Yeah,
and
his Lamborghini died on him.
No, I'm still here.
Oh,
before we jump off of that, you do know that you could play the game co-op with 4 friends.
Yeah, you play co-op. Yeah,
I didn't know you could do 4 friends.
Yeah. But it's not cross-play though, right? It's not cross-platform co-op, right?
I'm not sure.
I don't think it is. Someone's like, because I had mentioned that I was picking up the game on PC on Twitter, and someone's like, "Oh, make sure you know what your friends are playing." I'm like, "Look, Slow-mo's picking up on PC. That's all I need to play with Slow-mo. I'm good."
Yeah,
and Ramon's picking up too, so I'm good there. Yeah,
I bought it on PC too.
Oh, then Forte, there you go. Yeah, so
Green Man Gaming, 20% off. Let's go.
Yeah, Logic, are you picking up? Is this game on your radar at all?
I'm not sure. I'm waffling. It's the beginning of the year. I'm not exactly certain which way I'm going to head gaming wise, but
yeah. And by the way, speaking of beginning of the year, the reviews for The Last of Us Remaster Part 2, the reviews just came out. It's currently sitting at a Metacritic 90. If you
the game looks no different.
If you play the previous version of The Last of Us Part 2, then you can upgrade for $10. It does come with some additional game modes. It does have that roguelike mode. So yeah, I'm not sure if this is something I'll pick up. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence with this one. Any interest here on the panel?
Nah.
I'll do the upgrade for $10.
Yeah, I thought about that's kind of like my thought being when I'm like, oh, it's only $10.
Survival mode.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
I definitely see the value in it. I mean, for what you're getting, the extra $10 isn't bad, but I don't have any interest.
Yeah, and it does, like B said, it does have those new game modes. I think there's.
Well, let's also remember who this is on the market for, right? Mm-hmm. You have a ton of people who got brought into the veil. Yep, exactly. And they did it with the first one, and the first one blew up for that exact reason. Right? Highly likely this one's going to do the same thing.
Oh, it's definitely a smart move. It's a very smart move.
Yeah, this game. Yeah, I expect this game to sell very well. I remember there were people hemming and hawing about the Last of Us remake, and it was like, well, it sold like it did. I forget what numbers it did, but it actually did very well. And yeah, I mean, them doing this remaster isn't a surprise. But again, like to B's point though, they did add some new modes, and I think there's some newer levels that weren't in the original. I have to go back and look.
I'm sorry, my the Last of Us slander, my Aventador decided to freeze up and shut down on me.
See what happens when you slander Last of Us, Forte?
Yeah. As soon as I said that game looks the exact same, my PC was like,
yeah, your PC was like, what?
My PC was like, what did you say?
Like, hold on, we need to time out. Now, what are you saying now?
My PC was like, you might want to recheck that. I'm gonna give you another chance to come in there and apologize.
I mean, Brian East says it. I mean, good. And again, this is a market assessment, not talking about my own feelings about the game. But he's like, I spent more than $10 on lunch.
That's facts.
It's a no-brainer.
Absolute facts.
Yeah, if you already own the game, it's definitely worth it. That's how I got it. I was like, I didn't know that at first. I forgot that they were doing that because I was like, I'm not spending that much money for this. And then I saw there was only 10. I was like, yo, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah,
it's not a bad deal. It really isn't.
And so it's the $10 upgrade for people who have it, and then we, I mean, not us, but lots of other podcasts and lots of the rest of Twitter constantly forget that there are millions of new gamers coming into the market every year, right? There are people who just got their PlayStation 5, like is literally their first PlayStation 5, right? Who haven't played the game, and that's who the game is out there for. Yeah, and if it's arguably still one of the best titles, right, with this upgrade, moves it to the head of the line, right, in the best things to play on PlayStation. You can feel however you want to feel, or say, think about whatever that says about PlayStation. But at the end of the day, if that's the fact of the matter for this game, then that's where it's going to sit on the market.
Yeah.
So the question I have then for you, Logic, is just for you because you said that, because there are a lot of new gamers coming in, and with that being, and PlayStation is definitely using that to their advantage right now when it comes to re-releasing this game. Do you think now, if you're not into the whole multiplayer, well, not even multiplayer thing, like the whole roguelite stuff when it comes to the new mode that they added, do you think it's a better deal to just buy the PS4 version and play it on your PS5, or do you actually think you should buy the PS5 version?
Well, what is the PS? Where are you saying buy the PS4 version for?
If it's just for the story, if you're just trying to experience the story.
I mean, so here's where I am, and again, this is my comment on the market. I think there are a lot of people who, and this is let me go back just a little bit. So yes, there is an endemic problem with both storefronts. When things like this happen, I get frequently frustrated when I go to this store and I'm like, what the flip version am I supposed to buy?
Right.
Like what SKUs, like for a brief moment in time. So it was a travesty when the stores first launched, right? Telling what was the difference was between like the last gen version, the next gen version, and the cross gen version. Then there was a brief period in time where there was kind of a simple stack. It was like the Ultimate Edition, the regular edition, and then the last gen edition. And then for some reason recently when I've gone back to the store, like it's because I went back and bought what was the game, Ramon, you and I were talking about, was the Outer Worlds. Like the thing that came out last March that had like all the DLC and stuff bundled into it. And I'm like, now it's on the Xbox store. They're like split out. Like you can't hit, like there was that time where you could hit the button and like the editions button and it would just kind of explode and show you like all the, like now for Outer Worlds, it shows like several different editions. And I'm like, what the frock like is going like, so I think there are a lot of people that for things like that, they will just go buy the new thing. Right, not be bothered with all the stuff that came out before. Not try and pick like there are lots of people.
Probably why they do it too.
Yeah, there are lots of people who don't want to be bothered with all that.
I agree with that.
So I mean, and then your question about like in terms of like what is the best deal or the best value? It's I'm one of those people who like I don't want to be bothered, so I can't really answer that question.
No, I just like I said, there's really no right or wrong answer to it. I'm the same way. I do know just from buying habits that I can tell a person at the store that literally the game, like even I'm not saying this Game of Jordan, this is just the latest, thing that happened. The game looks pretty identical. I mean, you're probably getting a little bit better texture quality if you zoom in to 400%, but the game looks pretty comparable to the PS4 version. Now, if you're just experiencing a story, probably just buy the PS4 version, save yourself some money, and buy another PS5 game to go along with it that you might enjoy too.
I mean, that's my question. Is that the wedge? Is it that much of a savings by buying the PS4 version?
Oh yeah,
that you can afford another game.
You're talking about 20 between 25 between 1999 and 29 you can get the first one for part 2 for on PS4.
Well, now it's $40 for the
on the store. Yeah, if you buy it through the PlayStation store, it's $40.
Oh, even at Best Buy, it's $40 right now. I'm looking.
Oh, it went back up to 40. Okay,
so,
we had it for $19.99 for a while.
Yeah, but I think it's I saw 25 at GameStop. I don't know if that's used or new.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I'm gonna try and keep away from the GameStop slander, but that's not the used version, right? That's like the.
No, it was no. I only gave the new price. Like it was $19.99 like a couple weeks ago. Then it was $29 last week, and I think is it 30 right now or is it 40 now?
It's 30 right now at GameStop. I'm looking on the website.
So it's 30. Yeah, so it's 30 for the new one right now. So it's probably like 27 for the used one, which save your money. But no, that's all I was really thinking. I think in general. But I do agree to your point. Most people don't care. Plus, I also think just from seeing people buy games, like I'll tell a person like the Madden version, like Madden 24 on PlayStation 4 will work on the PlayStation 5. If we're out of the Madden 25 on PS5, I'll just say, dude, just buy the Madden on PS4. It's literally the same game. You're not really missing that much to the point where you have to have the PS5 version. And some people, it's just a mental block where they just see PS5 and it's like, no, I'll just wait for the PS5 version to come, even knowing it's literally the same game and there's nothing different. They'll just wait for the PS5 version.
So there's no performance difference, like
on Madden. No, it's slight graphical differences in Madden.
Let me get really messy. Why wouldn't you just tell them to sign up to PS Plus for a month and play the game and finish it and then turn off their subscription?
You can't do that if you're on PC. Oh, PS Plus. Wait, is that on PS Plus?
Isn't The Last of Us Part 2 the original one on PS Plus?
Oh, that is. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, there's ways you could kind of.
Well, no, I tell people that all the time on Xbox. Though I tell people that all the time. It's like, dude, if you do not like when people come in there and they talk about games and they ask about stuff that they don't know about, it's like, dude, just get Game Pass for 1 month. And try those games out just to see if you like them, and then that would give you more. It will inform your buying habits on games that you've never played before. That's not to say that you need to keep
promo for $1 too.
Yeah, that's what I said. Just sign up for a month. I said if you want to keep it for 3 months, do it for 3 months. I said as long as you're a member, you have access to them, and then use that. And you don't have to stay subscribed to it. Use it as a way of finding out a way of playing new. It's like we used to go to Blockbuster to rent a game to see if you liked it or not.
Unfortunately, it's the truth of the matter. It's the new demo. It's a new demo mode. I mean, literally, exactly. Like 90% of the reason why I signed up for Game Pass was because I got burned a couple times by games that I would have liked to have refunded, but I was past like the refund window, and I was like, well, F this. I'm just going to pay for the subscription to like protect myself from buying a lemon. TLU 2, the original, is 4K 30, right? On PS4?
It's 4K 30, 1440p, up to 60.
The original one on PS4?
Yeah, when they came out with that update, the update gave it 4K 30 and 1440p, 1080p to 1440p 60. Up to 60, because it definitely ain't hitting 60. So you're probably definitely hitting 60 on the PS5 version. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't hit 60.
So you're probably getting a higher
consistent frame rate on the PS5 version.
Higher res and higher frames.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's differences. It just ultimately comes down to, for a lot of people, I just seen just from buying habits that it can literally be the same game on one system on PS4 and on PS5, and people will always pick up the PS5 version just because they have a PS5.
Yeah, because in their mind they're like, I want the game that's made for the PS5 for the new console I just bought.
don't even think it's even that. I just think it's just the fact that I also just think it's just more of a mental thing too. It's like if you have a PS5 and even if the game is the same and you can save money, people will still, instead of saving money, they'd rather all their stuff be to the thing that they're buying.
Look, we just PS5. They want their PS5 games, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, they wanted to say just like cases like people will trade in all their PS4 games, even if those games still work on PS5. If there's a PS5 counterpart, they're going to trade it in to get the PS5 one.
Look, I will readily admit, and we just have different types of buyers on the market. I will readily admit there's stuff that I'm going to buy that sometimes, like I'm not price sensitive to stuff, and if there's just a bunch of gobbledygook and techno babble about what the differences is between the SKUs, I'm just gonna be like, F that. Like, I just get it the most expensive thing. I don't really give a crap. Like, I just want to be done with it.
And I'm similar. And I just recently, you reminded me, I just recently learned a very important lesson. I went on so I was when Red Dead Redemption 2 was on sale on PC. It was on sale on every storefront. I think except GOG. No, it was on sale on GOG too. But anyway, CD Keys had it the cheapest. So I was like, it was like $2 or $3 cheaper than on Steam. So I bought it on CD Keys. What I didn't know, being brand new, was that it was the Rockstar version. So I had to go to.
You needed the Rockstar launcher.
Oh, you needed the Rockstar
launcher. Do you know I bought this goddamn game 3 weeks ago and I still don't have it loaded yet because
you don't want to download the Rockstar?
Well, no, I downloaded the launcher, but I still can't figure out how to get the game installed and launch it.
Oh, and launch it.
It's the most convoluted bullshit, dude. It's so bad that I'm actually considering, and I never do this. I'm just getting it again when it's on sale on Steam.
Oh,
and what that taught me is, one, pay attention to where you have to launch it, and two, sometimes paying an extra $2 or $3 is worth it.
I learned
so you
that.
don't end up.
Ooh, I learned that a lot. Dude, that's Green Man was the same way. I literally that's why when I go look at a game, I was like, okay, where's this game launching from?
Oh man, that's the first thing I look at now. I guess we all got to learn our lesson. I learned that lesson.
That's good though.
Never, ever, ever buy anything that has to launch on Rockstar.
The funny thing is, I think Rockstar's launcher doesn't it even on Steam go through the social app? It's
a double launch. It drives me absolutely batshit crazy. Like that. Like I came around the corner and accepted that there were just going to be like launchers for each publisher, but the notion that I buy a thing through Steam or on Xbox, like I can't stand how when you get something on Game Pass that's EA, it has to launch the EA. You have to launch the Xbox app, and then when you launch it, it launches the EA Play app. It launches the Ubisoft app. Like just like just stop, man.
And if you don't got it installed, it says you got to install this app. I'm like, good God, bro.
Yep. Yeah, we have a lot of people in chat saying TLU 2 is not on PlayStation Plus, so you can't game the system that way.
Oh, they must have yanked it.
Yeah, I just saw it.
They yanked it. Dang,
and also with The Last of Us Part 2, some people in the chat are mentioning this too. The PS5 enhancements include native 4K output and fidelity mode, 1440p upscale to 4K performance mode, and unlock frame option for TVs to support VRR. So
look, that's why I'm just getting the PlayStation 5. I don't. There are things that I'm going to spend the time like mincing meat to figure out what the difference is between the SKUs, and then there's stuff that I'm not.
Yeah. So performance mode can go up to 4K from 1440p now instead of locked at 1440p 60. Okay, that's actually that's worth it.
Yeah, that's the stuff you get into if you already have it. And you're like, do you like what am I gaining by getting the PS5 add-on or whatever? But like for a new player, I'm just like, just buy the PS5 thing.
Just buy the PS5 version and screw the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, you get the benefits of the PS5 version of your PS5 console. I mean, I don't know. That's how I would look at it, at least. But
I have a question. I have one more question. There's a very unique scenario that I have.
By the way, real quick, please smash the like button if you haven't done so already. It helps out the channel. We have about 165 people watching. Thank you.
So the unique scenario I have, person traded in, had the Call of Duty, the PlayStation 5 Slim, Call of Duty Disc Edition. Traded it in 2 days ago. Yeah, the side piece. Traded in 2 days ago. Had some stuff go up, so he had to get rid of it. Right now, I can trade in my base PS5 and only pay $14.
Do it
for a Slim.
Do it.
But should I? That's the thing. Is it at? I already know the answer to this because for me, I think for $14 just to get the extra 200 and the 200 gigs that you get or 150 gigs, because the PlayStation sucks on storage as it is when it comes to the original one. It's almost worth it just for that. But I don't know if I want to transfer anything. So is it? I mean, if you were in that scenario, you could pay $14 to trade in your original and get a Slim. Would you do it?
No.
I can tell you why you should.
Just a regular Slim, not one of the new, not one of the. Don't laugh at me when I say it, but not one of the new colored ones or whatever that they just showed at CES.
No. Just the base white Slim that just came. They just released.
No, I mean, I personally wouldn't.
Well, Forte, I can tell you exactly why you shouldn't.
Why?
Because PS5 is not your primary console. So, are you really going to max it out?
And that's what I'm thinking. It's mostly just the fact that I know it's there.
That it's just $14. Yeah,
it is just $14.
It's just $14.
Shiny new thing.
It's there.
Take that $14 and catch a digital sale.
Oh man, you're right. It is not like I'm not.
It's not gonna make a difference to you.
And I already
probably.
I'm not even. Well, the thing is, I'm not even struggling for space because I have a 1 terabyte NVMe in it. So it's not I'm struggling for space. It's just the fact that I looked at it, I was like, man, I could get the smaller one for $14.
Right. So the one that you have now has the faux 1 terabyte drive that it came with, plus an add-on 1 terabyte that you put in it.
Yes.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Okay, that's why I haven't moved on it yet because I wanted.
Because you're gonna have to. Because are you gonna keep that one NVMe and transfer it?
Yeah, I would, but I'm not. I don't want to. But that means I gotta. Because the thing that sucks about PlayStation, it's not like a PC where I can just take that NVMe out and then put it in another one.
You gotta reformat it.
You gotta reformat it because it has to be tied to that motherboard, and then that means I gotta reinstall all the stuff again. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with my PlayStation I have now. So
yeah, especially not like Ramon said, for not something that's like your primary bit. Like you're gonna obtain that. I'm sorry, I'm telling you how to live your life. You're gonna obtain that and bring it in. You're gonna feel no sense of pride about it. It's not gonna be like a trophy sitting on your shelf. It's just a commodity that you're just going to get just because it's $14.
Yeah,
you're going to get no consumer satisfaction.
I like what you said about that. Literally, I like the way that you put that. Literally, you're going to get no pride out of that. No sense of satisfaction.
What's the girl's name that Commando or whatever her name is that tells hoarders to get rid of stuff or whatever.
Well,
I know who you're talking about.
Condo or whatever, yeah.
Well, no, and now that you say that, you really hit a point for me because my PlayStation is a launch PlayStation, and the way I got my PlayStation is kind of different from probably everybody else's. Whereas I actually had an Xbox on pre-order, and another person had a PlayStation on pre-order, but he wanted to get the Xbox for his son for his birthday. It was coming out that week. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't want to because I didn't know if I was going to get my hands on an Xbox, but I traded him my Xbox for his PlayStation pre-order. And we just happened to get a stock literally 2 days before the Xbox came out. So I was still able to get my Xbox day one. I was going to get my Xbox late because I the guy, I felt bad and it was his birthday and stuff. And I was like, you know what? Just give me your PlayStation pre-order. I'll give you my Xbox one. So the Xbox I actually have is because I switched out with that dude. So my PlayStation actually has a story behind it. So
yeah, don't get rid of that.
That kind of hit me when you said that, so I didn't think about it that way.
I mean, it's like, but I'll say the thing that broke my heart was when I got rid of my original PlayStation 3. And I mean, PlayStation. I mean, this is the first generation where I might be able to say that PlayStation is of my consoles. I mean, PC is my primary gaming platform, but my consoles where I could say PlayStation is my primary console. Like before this, it's always been Xbox. Mm-hmm. But my original PlayStation 3, just remember that was maybe well, no, not the first generation, but it was a thing that was in short supply. It was very difficult to get. It launched in October. I was able to get one off eBay on Thanksgiving weekend because I stayed home. I didn't go anywhere. I was up really late. I was like deep scrolling eBay, and I came across one that was being sold at a bundle with 5 games where at the end of the day I was only paying like $10 over MSRP. So I went ahead and grabbed it. But of course, the original PlayStation 3 had the Linux mode and the hardware-based backwards compatibility and all that stuff. And I had a Slim, but that I wound up having to keep just because it had the bigger hard drive and all that stuff in it. But like that rounded PlayStation 3 was the one that was really kind of special to me, and it kind of broke my heart when I wound up getting that was the one I wound up getting rid of. So man, hold on to that one for a little bit for that sentimentality.
Yeah, I will.
I have a story behind my how I got my PS5, and it gives a little sentimental. Like I had to work when they did the presentation when they first revealed it, like what it looked like and the price and everything.
Yeah.
So I got home half hour after the show was over, and this is when I was brand new. Like I didn't know any of the podcasts, I didn't know anybody. I was just brand new getting into the community. And don't laugh. Well, anyway, I turned on MBG. I turned on MBG.
Oh Lord!
And so, I'm listening to him, and he's like, "Wait a minute," and he addressed somebody in his chat, and he's like, "What do you mean it's on? It's up for pre-order now? It's not supposed to be up for pre-order until whenever, tomorrow or Wednesday or whatever." And he's like, "So you're saying it's on pre-order right now on Best Buy?" So I ran upstairs, logged on to Best Buy, and when I kid you not, I managed to get pre-ordered and paid out right before the site started coughing up blood. I mean, like it was stuttering, it was shaking, like it was hemorrhaging, and I managed to shoehorn in my pre-order. And then just to see, I went back on the Best Buy website again, and it freaking crashed. So it was like by seconds I managed to get my pre-order, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to get it until like the following year, because as we all know, the shortage.
Yeah. Wow. We got people in the chat clowning us for our stories, man. But stories of obtaining my consoles it's probably some of the best nostalgia from all my time.
Man, that's all part of it. That's like all part of it.
I had to wait in line. I mean, this is COVID. I had to wait in line outside to get a ticket, if you will, at my local GameStop to pre-order, and I was like the third person in line, so I was able to pre-order. But I mean, it was interesting time to say the least. Walking there with a mask, there was like I felt like I was walking to a bank because there was like a plexiglass shield in front of the cash register.
And I was first in line to get the Nintendo Wii at the Toys R Us when it came out.
Toys R Us, wow.
Yeah, me and my buddy showed up early. Wow. He was really smart. It was super cold, so as we were the first ones in the parking lot, we were like, yeah, that we're gonna stay in the car. It's super cold. And when people started showing up, he grabbed a notebook and a pen out of my car and started taking down people's names on a list and got everybody to agree to just stay in their cars to stay warm. And then when it was like 30 minutes before the store opening, then he was like, okay, people can go get in line. And everybody just got in line in the order that they were on the list. So it was the first Nintendo thing that I ever went and got, standing at the store or whatever. And it was pretty awesome to be first in line to get mine.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. All right, I do want to move on to another topic. Actually, this is really interesting. If you don't follow him, you should. Matt Piscatella of Circana. He's a video game industry analyst at Circana, formerly NPD. He used to work at Activision, Warner Brothers Games, and we've had Matt on the show before. But Matt actually tweeted out, and I'm wondering if this has to do with the article. That the interview that came out with Ubisoft rebranding. I read the article on GameIndustry.biz, which if you're not going to GameIndustry.biz for your video gaming news, you absolutely should. I think it's the best gaming website on the internet today. But Ubisoft did rebrand their subscription service to Ubisoft Plus Premium, and And so for those who wonder what it is, this service is basically one that features all the Ubisoft new releases, like we just talked about Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown earlier. That would be in that subscription. It costs $18. It's available on PC, Xbox, and Amazon Luna. But there's also Ubisoft Plus Classics on PC. The Classics options that's already available on PlayStation, by the way, via Sony's own subscription service, and that features like a back catalog of Ubisoft games, and that's $8 a month. So, but one thing that kind of and I saw some people commenting on this today in the interview by Felipe Tremblay, he's director of subscription at Ubisoft, and the one part that I think kind of caught some people. I saw some people kind of like, hey, wait a minute, like I don't agree with this. But he was talking about how subscription service would be able to take off. And he alluded that that gamers gamers need to get comfortable with not owning their games, and he wasn't saying that like, hey, you guys need to like get comfortable. Like that's not how I interpreted it, by the way. I didn't think he was saying like, hey, gamers, like you guys need to get like with the program and get comfortable not owning your games. I interpreted his comment as subscription service are going to grow when gamers just become comfortable not owning their games.
It was a response to an interview question where the interview question was, what do you guys think needs to happen in order for like this model of the business to take off? And another very key thing that he said in his video, and I covered this on my series on my channel talking about games. One of the things that he mentions, and he mentioned several things. I think it may have been one interview, it may have been several interviews. Lots of websites covered the same interview at radically different layers of depth. But one of the things they mention is that specifically for Ubisoft in terms of their strategy is that they have no desire to force one model or another on players. Right now, today, it is about giving players choice. And there are lots of things that are kind of unique about Ubisoft's approach. Ubisoft, number one, doesn't care about churn. And that's the first time that I've heard any subscription service provider indicate that churn is a non-issue, because it is super large, a major issue for every subscription service, right, from cell phone providers to video content streamers. Everyone is concerned about churn. It's a negative impact on the business. It means that your revenue envelope is actually smaller than your footprint looks, and it's a problem. But Ubisoft doesn't care, and they don't care if you come in, subscribe to the service. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Granted, TLU 2 is not in PS Plus, but I talked about that. I talked on my show about how we see these behaviors where people sign up for Netflix. Stranger Things drops on Netflix. You run over to Netflix, reactivate your account, catch up on Stranger Things. You shut your account down, right? You run over to Disney Plus. You get caught up on all your MCU stuff. You drop your subscription. You light off your HBO Max thing and run over and catch up on Doom Patrol or Titans or whatever. All of that behavior today is fine with Ubisoft because it just means that they're appealing to gamers who might look at a game and say, hey, that game has a $70 price tag, that game has a $50 price tag, whatever, I'm not buying it. And to them, they feel that at least, look, if they come in and play it in a subscription, whether they stay for a short time or stay for a long time, that's still yet another player who's playing our game. A couple key statistics they mentioned is 1 out of 10 people who are signing up for their subscription service, as far as they can tell, have never played an Ubisoft game, so that's a new customer for them. And like I said, they mentioned that they have no intention to shove one of these models down the person's throat. The big thing for them is to offer different choices, to offer them at different price points. That's why they're offering Ubisoft Classics, because they see a lot of people and a lot of engagement from the back end of their marketing telemetry showing that PC players in particular are going after a lot of these old games in their back catalog. I mentioned this is an effect that's been hitting me as a gamer, where I've been seeing stuff come on my windshield and I'm like, I need to go back and play like these Assassin's Creed games that I slept on, or go back and hit this Ghost Recon game that I slept on. And they're like, hey, wait a minute, if people are doing that, let's offer them to that at a subscription at a lower price point, so they don't have the price sensitivity to the $18 price point, etc. So there's a lot of context in that interview that really needs to be unpacked. Quite frankly, a lot of the journalist outlets have not been doing a good job of it. Podcasters have been doing a worse job of it. The message gets diluted, every step you get away from the source. So it's really something that really needs a lot of kind of detailed unpacking.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I saw a lot of people running with just the title of gamers need to get used to not owning their games. It's like,
that's the sensationalist headline that like blew the thing out of the water in the first place, right?
Yeah, and that's what needs to be kind of fleshed out a little bit, because he was being asked a question like, hey, like what is it going to take to really kind of grow the subscription model? And he says like I don't have a crystal ball, but when you look at different subscription services out there, we've had rapid expansion over the last couple of years, but it's still he says it's still relatively small compared to other models. He goes on to say, we're seeing expansion on console as the likes of PlayStation, Xbox bring new people in. On PC, from an Ubisoft standpoint, it's already been great, but we're looking to reach out more on PC, so we see opportunity there. He then goes on to say, one of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They get comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. So you don't lose what you build in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. So again, that's in relation to that question where he's asked, like, what is it going to take for subscriptions to step up and become more significant proportion of the industry? So I'm wondering. So Matt Piscatella, and real quick, I'm sorry. Anyone on the panel have any additional thoughts on his commentary on subscriptions? All right, I want to move on. Yep.
No, I was just gonna say I think it's really cool that like what Logic was saying, how they're not focused hard lined on the sub, but more as an option, and that's all I've ever really wanted these subscription services, like gaming subscription services, to be, is another option, but not the standard.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, the comment that I made, when BRAP and I were talking earlier today, is like, look, if you're a gamer and you're over 30, like stand down from general quarters. Nobody's coming to take away your choice to buy games anytime during your lifetime. You're going to live out your life, grow old, have kids, grandkids. You'll be fine. The option will be there.
Sleepy Joe's trying to take my video games game Logic.
Right, and arguably the lens that's being turned on the gamers below 30, right, is where in that generational demographic do you start hitting, right, that layer, that tier, that strata where those people don't care, and there is a line there where that demographic flips, right, and they don't care about stuff like that, or at least don't care about it in the same way that we do. Now, again, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right now, it's kids that are in their, and they have been used to not owning a CD collection, not owning movies. They've been used to hopping on Spotify or going on Netflix, and they don't have this huge backlog of this content that they carry around with them. That they don't have this big record collection that they carry around with them. So I think that's kind of where, as those kids get older, get into their 30s, that's when subscriptions will really take off, because that's where those kids aren't holding on to stuff like that like we have been, all this time.
Totally agree. I even had, in one job I had, like, I had a group of developers that were so there was me, there was probably my middle managers who were probably a generation behind me, and then I had a bundle of young developers that were probably 2 generations behind me. And even though I've made the leap to like digital music, right, the vigorous argument we would often have on the daily was how I still curated like a digital music collection, right? Even though I might have Spotify or Amazon, I still had like my personal digital music catalog. But I was constantly having conversations with them about how, like, literally their approach to music was YouTube music and just to have curated playlists. Like, They were even further abstracted from any notion of digital ownership, like 2 layers away that I was, and that was kind of flabbergasting to me. Like they were like, look, I just want a big shuffle button that I go push every single day of stuff that I don't own.
It's even a step outside of that. Even something as simple as car ownership. Like, when we grew up, we wanted to, we got a license because we wanted to buy a car and this and that. Well, I can only speak to Vancouver, but a lot of the younger generation up here in Vancouver, it's what is it? Car to go, zip car, like all of those. Basically a kind of like a subscription service for like a car share,
Yeah.
and they have no interest in owning a car. They're like, why do I want to own a car? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just ownership just doesn't mean the same thing.
Yeah, I have relatives of a younger generation in DC. They don't own cars. Every time during the holidays, they run out, get a zip car, drive home, drive back, drop the car. Right, and then they go on living their lives without being weighed down by ownership. Now, me, in my mentality, right, I can't. The notion of me not being in control, you can accuse that of being a faux veil, fine. Of me being in control and not having my own modality of transportation, that would be crazy to me. Right, but for them, it's just additional baggage weighing them down.
No, I need my own vehicle. I need my own vehicle,
especially if you live in the suburbs. There ain't no way.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the suburbs. In the city, I could see where that might make sense, but for me, being in the suburbs, I need my own vehicle. But no, it's an interesting conversation, and you're right, Logic. I don't disagree with you. There was a lot of stuff that was lost in covering this particular story, and so Matt Piscatella tweeted this out today regarding subscription growth in the industry. Matt said subscription growth has flattened, and sub-services on console and PC platforms accounts for only 10% of total video game content spending in the U.S. He goes on to say, I get that some people want to protect their preferred model, but the idea that subs will become dominant is unsupported by data. He then goes on to say, subs have been more additive than cannibalistic and offer players, devs, and pubs more choice in how to play or how to go to market. Fear-mongering on this topic is quite unnecessary. So I thought it was some interesting points here by Matt Piscatella. Obviously, he sees the data here. But some of the stuff he's saying here is stuff that he shared in the past, especially with the part about subscription growth being flat. And I don't think we knew from Matt, and maybe he shared this before, I didn't see it, but he's saying, look, it only accounts for 10% of total video game content spending in the U.S. on console and PC. And I can't say I'm surprised by his commentary that this idea that subs will become dominant is unsupported by data. I mean, I think we've been saying this on this show for quite some time, that as much as people like to say it's the future, we just haven't seen that. At least I haven't, by consumers. And this goes back to some of the things I think too, when I go back to, Logic, who's your favorite CEO in gaming? What's his name?
Strauss Zelnick.
Yes, Strauss. Thank you, Strauss.
Strauss, we have to get to the chopper.
Do it now. The Strauss has been on record saying, hey, look, people in general buy maybe 2 to 3 games a year, spend about 35 to 45 hours on those games. I mean, you look at what Ubisoft and what they were just discussing here. You listen to what Matt Piscatella is saying. This is kind of more of an additive thing. I mean, like the CEOs have been telling us, because they see the data. I remember Bobby Kotick, his commentary on specifically Game Pass, which I won't get into right now. But yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of people for quite some time have been saying, "Oh, this is the future," and like Matt said, the data just isn't supporting that right now. And it's curious. I'm just curious. Like, I wonder if we're ever going to get to that point, and maybe we will. Like for the things that B mentioned, like with our kids, the younger generation, things you described, Logic. Maybe at some point that we hit that threshold where maybe the subscription model is the primary driver. and way.
The only way we do though is when all games are in subscriptions. The thing that I've said from the very beginning is that the subscriptions won't grow without the heavy hitters.
Mm-hmm.
If EA doesn't put their games in there day one, if the Ubisofts don't put their games in a single subscription day one, if Rockstar is not going to put their games in a subscription day one, 2K, people always clown sports games, but they're the biggest games to sell every year. If those games are in their subscription day one, the subscription isn't going to get any bigger than what it is now. People want the games that they buy every year. Those games will have to be in a subscription. Until that happens, nothing's going to change. If FIFA is not in a subscription, people don't care. They're going to go buy FIFA for $100, and they're going to probably spend another couple $100 buying all the premium stuff on the game. Same with 2K. Same with Rockstar. There's a reason why Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold all the copies that it has. It's because people rather buy the game attached to shark cards. That's it. They just buy the game again because it comes with shark cards because they're going to spend money there. So until the big games where people spend money constantly are in a subscription, it's not going to change.
Yeah, go ahead, Logic. You chime in there. Yeah.
I mean, just a part of me feels like, the thing that's going to tip the apple cart is not just a change in consumer behavior, but is also going to be something transformative in the industry, right? We look at music and we constantly run that comparison, right? But the truth of the matter is that the thing that flipped the apple cart in the music industry was the 99-cent iTunes track, right? The thing that really made that thing take off was Apple offering songs for 99 cents and allowing you to buy them a la carte, right? That was one of the biggest things that struck the industry, was the unbundling and requiring you, no longer requiring you to go buy an album of 13 tracks that you didn't care about just so you could get 2 or 3 that you did. I mean, so that's one thing. I was about to say NVIDIA. Netflix, yes, it was offering streaming. But I can't remember what it was that they did, or what they did to transform their model. And maybe it was just offering streaming, but offering it from the takeoff point of becoming that DVD purveyor and making that super convenient to where it was a no-brainer to flip to streaming. And I held on to getting the DVDs for a while until I just got to a point where this makes no sense. Like why am I doing this? So I feel like it's something that flips the apple cart in terms of convenience for people, combined with that shifting demographic. I mean, the thing that B is saying, I agree with that, but then one of the things that makes me question is, and I talked about this again on my show when I was comparing Ubisoft Plus Premium now to EA Play Pro, and I'm like, the comment B was saying, and correct me as we kind of pull through this, but some of the biggest sports games that are annualized releases are in a subscription service. They're in EA Play Pro, and if you pay, at least for EA Play Pro, if you pay $100 a year, you get those annualized releases, and that's cheaper than going out and buying each of them individually every single year.
But the thing with that is that it's only on PC, and the big people who play Madden and those sports games competitive, they play them on console.
But
There's no tournaments where you will find people playing PC, any of those games on PC in a tournament setting.
Right, but can't you get them via the EA Play subscription on PC, which is even cheaper? I mean, on console, which is even cheaper?
Yeah, but they don't release their day one. They release their as the seasons end for the respective sport.
Yeah, you don't get the day one, you don't get the day one Madden 24 on Xbox, right, through EA Play.
Well, that's because it's bundled with your Game Pass. But if you actually subscribe directly to EA Play on console, don't you get them day one?
No.
Okay.
No, they release like Madden won't release onto EA Play until the weekend of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, only on PC, and this is why I'm subscribed to EA whatever it is on PC. Because myself, my kids, They play the FIFA, or now it's FC. They play Madden. There's a couple other games in there. I mean, it pretty much pays for itself with those sports releases on PC. But yeah, that's a big difference between the two services. The console version and the PC is the day and date stuff. The other thing,
I think,
giving up those sales.
think when it changes is when all the publishers come to the table and they say, "Hey, instead of splitting this pie against all these consumers, let's just create one subscription, and all of us are gonna put all these games in one subscription." That's the only way it's gonna work, because like the representative from Ubisoft said, they don't really care about the churn, people going in and out of subscription. It's only an additive thing for them. They don't care about that, and it's probably additive thing for all the companies and the current state of it, because it's not something that's really taken off like everyone probably expected it to. But if you look at what EA Play does, if you look at what Ubisoft does, if you look at what Game Pass does, you look at what Luna does, like, they're all trying to do the same thing, but it's not going to work, because similar to how Logic said, when Stranger Things comes to Netflix, people go there, they watch Stranger Things and they get up out of there. It's because they only want that specific thing. So for this to work, all the games have to be in a single subscription where you can get everything. Otherwise, it's going to be the same thing where people jump in, they play. When Dead Space comes out, they go play Dead Space, and when they're done with it, they're out of there. When whatever Sony game comes out and it hits their subscription, they play that game, they get out of there. Whenever Avowed comes out, people jump in and they jump out of there. Until all the games release in a single subscription, where you're basically going to get all the games that come out, it's not going to work. It's not going to be something that takes over the lives of the normal consumer, at least for a long time, in my opinion.
And I can't even imagine a scenario where that would happen, where PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, Rockstar, Take-Two, all of them come together and join forces to form Voltron. Yeah, I can't imagine a scenario that happening.
I don't think they ever would. I think what you would have to have, and again, this would be difficult to impossible to ever. You would. Where I could see is the rise of a new digital business, which is another middleman, right? Some company that props up a subscription that gives you that is a supplier, basically, which is going to lead down the path of institution, right? But is a gatekeeper to give you access to, because the difference, like B is saying, is we subscribe to Netflix, we subscribe to Disney Plus, we subscribe to Max, and each of them has their own content. But on console, things are locked to platforms. And so the platform owners have some provenance for taking on the foothold of also being the subscription service provider. And so in order to aggregate things, you have to have somebody who brokers deals across platforms to give you access to multiple publishers, multiple platforms. I mean, there's the space and the opportunity for that. I just don't know who would ever be able to shoulder barge into the industry like that, other than one of the multi-trillion-dollar big five to broker one of those deals.
So speaking of that, like the big five, one of the things, I don't know if everyone saw this today, but Swen, I can't pronounce his name, Swen Venke. He's the CEO of Larian Studios, who made my favorite game of all time, Baldur's Gate 3. But he had some interesting comments about subscription services. Now, Larian has also doubled down and said, "Hey, look, we're not bringing Baldur's Gate 3 to subscription service. That's not something that we're going to do." They had previously said that before, but they're doubling down on that again with some recent commentary. And one of the things he tweeted out, he says, whatever the future of games looks like, content will always be king. but it's going to be a lot harder to get good content. We've talked about this on this show, so this might sound familiar to some of the people listening. It's going to be a lot harder to get good content if subscription becomes the dominant model and a select group gets to decide what goes to market and whatnot. Direct from developer to players is the way. He then goes on to say, getting a board to okay a project fueled by idealism is almost impossible. Idealism needs room to exist, even if it can lead to disaster. Subscription models will always end up being cost/benefit analysis exercises intended to maximize profit. There's nothing wrong with that, but it may not become. Let me go back here. There's nothing wrong with that, but it may not become a monopoly of subscription services. We are already all dependent on a select group of digital distribution platforms, and discoverability is brutal. Should those platforms all switch to subscription, it'll become savage. In such a world, by definition, that preference of the subscription service will determine what games get made. Trust me, you really don't want that. He goes on to say, you won't find our games on a subscription service, even if I respect that for many developers. It represents an opportunity to make their game. I don't have an issue with that. I just want to make sure the other ecosystem doesn't die because it's valuable. So some of those things, really resonate with me because I think these are things that we talked about. The potential, what happens if dominant players, especially, I think you just mentioned Logic. You said the Big Five, Big Tech Five. Is it 6 now? I think I've heard you say 6 with NVIDIA.
Yeah, you're right. I should include NVIDIA in that.
Yeah, so it's something we've talked about. I heard you mention shitification earlier. Kind of what we've discussed about large corporations absorbing. He's mentioned this, content's king.
So, yeah. I can tell you right now from my side of the fence. I've probably mentioned it before, maybe even more than once. It's an experience going on right now in publishing, especially if you're an indie author. Amazon's Kindle Unlimited, which is basically Game Pass, but for books. And if you are not in Kindle Unlimited, then the algorithm literally works against you. It favors books that are in Kindle Unlimited. In order to be in Kindle Unlimited, your book has to be exclusive to Amazon for 3 months at a time. And for authors who have their books on Amazon Kindle, it's a harder fight to get visibility in order to get up in the rankings. And that's those are the things that they do in order to kind of push their ebook subscription service forward. So I can tell you right now, real world scenario happening right now, that dude ain't lying.
Yeah, and it's something. Yeah, go ahead, Logic.
So I'll flip back a little bit on something I said before, where I said, the dynamic may not be solely dependent upon a groundswell change in consumer in consumption behavior. All this conversation kind of leads me back around, and no, it actually does, and it goes back to things that I've said before, where this is really, part of this and part of the console war and part of this ongoing discussion between subscriptions versus individually sold games, and people who align those arguments to platforms and consoles and preferred consoles. A lot of it is about a class war, and a lot of it is about indiscriminate consumers who, and I don't weaponize this as a statement. Like I'll apply this to myself, right? Going back to that conversation I had about the conversation I was having with that younger generation of people with music, because for a lot of people, music is background noise. And they aren't as discreet. They don't sit with a high quality pair of headphones on for an hour block of time and actually listen to music. So you have a demographic of indiscriminate consumer for the music space that just cares that something's going on in the background. That's an indiscriminate customer who doesn't care about the bit rate of the music that's being served, who doesn't care about latency, blah 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 blah. Right? That is the type of consumer that you can easily market a streaming service to. Then there are consumers who don't want to own the stuff. It's like, so those demographics and those blocks are the things that enable subscription services to take off. What we see in the gaming space is we see a much more complex demographic, I would say, and today a demographic where I think there is that block of indiscriminate consumer, but right now they're just not in dominance. And that's where I keep going back to the reason you guys fight and squabble so much amongst each other is because there are a bunch of you who are the haves who want to be able to buy high quality games and are willing to pay the price for them and purchase individual units of them versus people who just want low cost of access. They just want a bushel of games rolled up in a wheelbarrow and they're indiscriminate. Right. And those are the people who are okay with subscription services. And as that war continues, depending on, which way the tide of battle goes in that demographic is going to drive when subscription services take off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt, but kind of going back to his tweets here, I found it. I thought they were. It's fascinating to hear from a CEO of a gaming studio, and there are things, again, like I said earlier, that resonated with me because these are things that we've talked about. I think we talked about these things when Microsoft was in the process of buying ABK. And this idea that, when you have, only a small group, we talked about mass consolidation. I mean, we talked about this on the show quite a bit, mass consolidation in the gaming industry, it leading to less choice, not just for consumers, but for where developers can potentially shop their games to publishers. And then this idea, as he mentioned, this idea of, having a select group of, distribution platforms and a subscription model that kind of control everything, and how that could be a hindrance to creativity for video games. And I've heard, I believe, I don't want to misquote him, but I think, a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Colin Moriarty, Sacred Symbols, we had him on this past September. He does run a small indie video game development studio. And I think he's brought this up as well about this idea of, if you're not making what these, if it gets to a point you're not making what these platforms want, you may be on the outside looking in. And again, I don't want to misquote. I believe he said something to that effect. But I thought that was an interesting point to bring up. That, could that be a downside to if subscription service become the dominant model? Where, and I would imagine that maybe the platform owners are looking at games that maybe drive engagement to those subscription services. We talked about churn earlier, games that bring in new customers. Do we look at a future potentially where you're seeing only a certain type of game because that game is going to drive engagement, keep people subscribed to a platform? Again, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I just think it's an interesting conversation to have. And an interesting perspective to hear from somebody who's a CEO at a gaming studio. Any thoughts, panel?
That's something I brought up
when
we first started talking about Game Pass on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Said that the developers that are getting the deals now won't be the same developers getting the deals 5 years from now, because the engagement is what's going to determine if you are able to get a deal. And we see it, throughout the years of developers saying like, hey, I tried to get my game in Game Pass. I've hit everybody up over at Xbox and I couldn't get my game in Game Pass. You know what I mean? So it's not like they're accepting everyone who wants to be on Game Pass, and they're not just giving everybody a deal and cutting a check. So like you said, that engagement is what's going to drive what's curated for Game Pass. And if the engagement isn't high on your particular content, then guess what? You are on the outside looking in, because if subscriptions continue to be the driver of how people consume games, that's where they're going to go. They're not going to go to the store and search to see, what the newest games are. They're just log in, hop into their Game Pass subscription or whatever the case may be, look at what's there, what's available, and and check those games out. So that was one of my concerns very early, when we start talking about subscriptions, whether it's from Xbox or whoever. The little guy Even some of the bigger guys are going to be left out. If your game is not appealing, then people are not going to pay attention. It's not going to get noticed. We see it today. We see games. There's too many games. First of all, there's too many games that release in a year, and we see games that get ignored all the time. And we see all these studios closing. We see huge layoffs throughout the industry. And it's because people are not consuming games like they used to. There's too many games. Now that they're subscriptions, that takes off another layer of people who are going to buy games. So the consumer who was buying multiple games on your console before is now in a subscription, and they may be only paying that subscription now, and they're not buying games, or they're buying games every once in a while when they're on sale or wherever the case may be. So you've taken off a layer of consumers who are not buying games. So that takes off. That consumer is no longer looking to buy games. He's not looking outside of the subscription. He's only consumed with what's in that subscription because that's where they put their money. That's how they are consuming games. They're putting their money towards the subscription. That's where they're going to consume their games. Anything else is null and void. They're not looking outside. So it will become an industry problem as time goes on. We see it. If you're not a big player in the game right now, if you're not somebody who's getting noticed, then you will be left on the outside. If Baldur's Gate 3 didn't have the notoriety that it has, and it would just be like all the other Baldur's Gate games, I guarantee you they'd be trying to put their game in a subscription. But since it has this high notoriety and everybody's talking about the game, and it has this great critical reception, and everybody's playing the game, and it has these high reviews, of course, people are going out and they're spending that dollar. We see it all the time. If your game is a 75 or below, people don't give a shit. Close your studio because ain't nobody buying your game. We saw it all last year.
Immortals of Avium was a victim of that. I mean, it was a good game. It definitely had its performance and optimization issues, but it was a good game that came out in a year that was like we just drowned in 8s and 9s, and in some cases, some people would say 10s. And a solid game that deserved the sequel it was set up for is most likely never going to happen.
Ruben, let me ask you a question. You brought up Amazon, and was it a bit more friendlier when it first came out, the Kindle? Like, was that model a bit more?
The Kindle
did it eventually progress to something that was a little more, I don't say competitive, but harder to kind of break into.
Yeah, well, it's if my understanding of the term, and I believe it is correct, of what you and Logic say about it in shitification, is that's an example, because the Kindle paved the way, and it busted the market open wide open. It enabled authors to take control of their careers, and we could write whatever we want. Didn't have to listen to publishers saying, well, people don't want to read that kind of book, so you need to write this instead, which was almost always false. And so you have authors who were big name authors, and you had authors who were just breaking into the industry. And if you were an early author writing books and publishing them into Kindle, and I know quite a few of them, they've got a couple $1 million in the bank because they were in there at the ground floor. Then they introduced Kindle Lender's Library, which eventually evolved into Kindle Unlimited, which requires the 3-month exclusivity. And the algorithm favors Kindle authors or unlimited authors more than non-unlimited authors. Pay came in a pot. So they would say they put like $5 million into a pot, and then, you know, authors would be paid based on downloads and pages read. So, you know, if you had a book and it was, say, you know, like 500 pages, right? And then like say 3,000 people in a month read your book in Kindle Unlimited, and then you got a big payout because you had a bunch of pages read. There was a double negative effect. I mean, it's a positive effect because a lot of people made a lot of money, but it had a double negative effect because, one, it prompted a lot of people who are not authors to just cobble a bunch of words together, get a really good cover, and then stuff it full of garbage or links to the next book in the series. And you have this pedestrian writing, which is like, you know, Jill was sad, you know what I mean? Just bad writing. But then they shoveled it into the market, and it's basically shovelware. And, you know, they were sucking up a lot of the pot. On the other end, Amazon, once you were locked into Kindle Unlimited, a lot of authors were locked into Kindle Unlimited as their sole income. And then you would have things like the pot getting smaller at times, or for crazy reasons, authors' accounts getting frozen because of some AI or algorithm thing that banned their books erroneously, and just stuff like that happened. So I mean, it had a really good positive effect, and then it curved in a downward trend. And then the traditional publishers have been fighting Amazon since forever, and you know, they're fossils who don't know how to evolve either. So it was a good thing to start, but you know, it is a little bit of a mess.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I didn't know there was like a pot that was shared. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that sounds a lot like Spotify.
Yeah, wow, interesting.
Spotify, from what I hear, Spotify is probably worse. But yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty much the thing. So there are a lot of authors, myself included, like, I just don't put my books in that because I don't want to. There's too much attached to it, and then it also has it's bred a type of reader who will not read any books that are not in Kindle Unlimited. And even if there are other readers who will read the first book in a series, rant and rave about how good it is, but refuse to read the rest of the series because it's not in Kindle Unlimited. Or and this happens to indie authors. Amazon actually finally revised their return policy, but it used to be you could buy an ebook, and I think they give you a week to return it. And you could see somebody do it. You have like a 7-book series or a 4-book series. And it happened to me too. A 4-book series. First book read, returned. Second book read, bought, returned maybe 3 days later. Third book, then returned. Fourth book, and then returned. And that those royalties don't get paid if it's returned. So, but yeah, it was pretty brutal. So, I mean, they changed Amazon finally. We've been bitching at Amazon literally for like, I don't know, a decade at least. We've been bitching at Amazon about it, and they finally have revised it. I need to go and check, but I think they finally revised it. But yeah, it's been an interesting ride.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that, Ramon. That's actually, like I said, that's interesting. I didn't know. I didn't know what went into publishing a book on Amazon, but it sounds painful. it sounds painful.
if you can get the algorithm to say hello to you, then life is good while it's happening.
Life is good. Yeah.
It's increasingly more difficult for that.
Wow. All right. Speaking of algorithm, or algorithms, I should say. So a couple things have come up recently with Satya Nadella discussing the Xbox business. I think further fueling the conversation around Xbox going third party. There's been a lot of conversation based on rumors going around that Hi-Fi Rush could be coming to PlayStation and Nintendo. Sea of Thieves, and so Satya Nadella actually on December 7th during an investor call, actually investor stream, answered a question from someone, and the question was, could you give an update on our gaming business, Microsoft's gaming business, and Satya went on to say, we're very, very excited about everything that's going on in gaming, especially with the close of Activision Blizzard King. We think that now we have the ability to really do what we've always set out to do, which is build great games and deliver them to folks across all platforms, right? Which is Xbox and consoles, the PCs, and now even including mobile gaming and cloud gaming. So what's kind of fueled the speculation of Microsoft third party is Satya's commentary of which is Xbox and consoles. Now, some people said, oh, well, that just means ABK. And he wasn't specific about, if he meant ABK, if it was ABK and first party. But we know that the CEO of Xbox, Tim Stewart, at the Wells Fargo conference last year, answered a similar question, but answered twofold. Talked about the strategy with ABK, but also talked about pivoting their current how they look at first party games, pivoting their strategy to bringing more first party stuff across multiple competitive consoles in the console space, being Nintendo and PlayStation. He also a second, I need to find this link. There's something else he mentioned as well. I need to find it. Give me a second here. Oh, here we go. He also, in an interview with Bloomberg, said, I think we have a chance of being, this is a response to Xbox gaming. He says, I think we have a chance of being a good publisher, quite frankly, on Sony and Nintendo and PCs and Xbox. So he also says that, with getting Activision, this is going to also allow him to be a good publisher. So it's just this chatter, this conversation around them going third party just isn't going away, and Microsoft seems to be, I think, fueling a lot of this conversation. They haven't denied any. I think maybe Windows Central, Jez Corden wrote an article, I think, and I don't want to misquote him, but I believe he did reach out to get some additional clarification on this. But what I have seen Microsoft in the past do when there's been rumors or things like this out there, like they'll usually, like Aaron or somebody from Microsoft, Phil Spencer at times, will say, no, this isn't true, we're not doing this. They haven't done any of that. And I think that's further fueling some of the speculation about them releasing more first-party content on rival platforms. But I've been saying this since last year. Their word track, their behavior, I've been saying this again since last year, very analogous to a third-party publisher, where they're going to want to put other games on other platforms. So I'll open it up to the panel. What are your thoughts on, and please, anyone feel free to chime in, what are your thoughts about Satya's recent comments here?
I mean, it sounds like almost like a business jet get out of jail free card. I mean, if you look at what the consoles are doing, I mean, the consoles, like, even their messaging is leaning towards, people not buying consoles, and people are not buying consoles. If they start opening up their library to other platforms, I mean, that's an extra 70% on platforms that have already done the legwork and built successful platforms, Nintendo and Sony, PlayStation, I should say. And I mean, from a business standpoint, I mean, that's kind of a win, because if they're not getting more Xboxes in the homes, they have Samsung TV, they have the people who do own an Xbox console, and then potentially the hundreds of millions of people who own Nintendo consoles and PlayStation consoles. So I mean, from a business standpoint, it makes sense. It doesn't thrill me because it is good to have a platform that has an identity, and I would say that it would be good to have that platform as a check on PlayStation, but there haven't been a check on PlayStation since last gen. So I mean, this, if you look at the history of the way Microsoft moves, this is how they move. It's not really a huge surprise. This is how they move.
Yeah, I mean, this word track kind of aligns, and I've been saying this for a long time, aligns with just Microsoft DNA as a company. We're going to bring our software, our products to where the consumers are. The Xbox platform has been kind of counterintuitive to Microsoft's DNA for some time now. And look, there's been a lot of conversation around this idea that, it doesn't matter if their games go, if like a Hi-Fi Rush goes to another platform because it's not going to take away your enjoyment of the game. And I don't disagree with that. But I do think consumers, and we see this with other consumer products, especially luxury items, consumers who spend a lot of money on products often want to feel a sense of value, like they are having something that someone else can't have. And there's brand loyalty in that. And so I think some of the people that are, some of the Xbox fans there who are voicing their displeasure over this, I think that's part of it. It's not so much that I don't agree with this idea that you can't speak out and say, hey, look, as an Xbox consumer, I don't like this. I don't think you can sit there and say, oh, someone can't feel that way because it doesn't take their enjoyment away from the games they're playing on the Xbox. I think those two things can kind of coexist, but people do, and this is and Apple, I would say, is kind of the example of this. Where they get people in their ecosystem, they sell them these high-end products that you can't get anywhere else from Apple. There's kind of like a sense of exclusivity these consumers feel. It's like actually a thing, by the way. I did some reading, some research on consumer psychology or psychology around consumers, and that's actually a thing where these companies know that giving that white glove treatment to consumers actually pays dividends in terms of brand loyalty, where they can upsell these consumers who feel valued.
It's absolutely right. I mean, I've said it before about PlayStation. If they ever went day one on PC, that I wouldn't buy another PlayStation, and that's my preferred console to play on. The thing is you invest in their platform. You know what I mean? You're directly investing in the platform. You own the platform, and there's a certain degree of you want the red carpet treatment, and I don't see anything wrong with that. From a business standpoint, like I said, I get why Microsoft is talking the way they're talking, and it makes sense. But from a consumer standpoint, like, you feel like a second-class citizen. I mean, you have games that come out on PC first and Xbox second, but it's an Xbox game. And then now PlayStation gamers are dealing with this with Helldivers. You own the platform. You should be the first class citizen or the first class, consumer. Yet PC gamers, we get to play Helldivers online for free, and PlayStation gamers have to pay for online. It's just little things like that. It's just like, well, I invested in your platform, dude. Like, I went the little extra mile. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's a bad thing to, kind of feel some kind of way about that.
Yeah. It's just interesting. It's been an interesting conversation the last couple of weeks with a lot of the rumors going around about, these games going to other platforms. And I can certainly understand why some people may feel a certain way about it for the reasons I just mentioned. But I think the writing's on the wall. I mean, they've been very clear in their messaging. When you at the C-suite, you got the CFO, of Xbox, the CEO of Xbox, the CEO of Microsoft. telling you like, hey, look, we want to, Phil Spencer, we want to create communities on other platforms. Sasha, we feel like we're in a good place now where we can, bring games to, Xbox and consoles. I mean, it's just, at least to me, the writing is, I think they've been very clear about the direction they're heading as a, with their gaming division at Xbox or Microsoft Games. B or Forte, any thoughts on this before we wrap up tonight?
I've been saying this for a long time.
Yes, you have. You have.
I've been saying it for a long time, man. I've been trying to tell y'all, man. This was just it's coming. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen. It's what Microsoft does. Just study the company. I know everybody loves Xbox. I love Xbox, although I do not own one any longer. But I do love the brand. I do love what they represent. But if you look at the company, I'm speaking from someone who had a Zune, someone who had Windows Phone. Microsoft is not about the hardware. It never have been. They have tried multiple times, multiple different sectors. It has never worked out for them. And like I've said multiple times on this show, the Xbox 360 was the highest it will ever be for the Xbox brand selling hardware. Ever. Because people don't care about the hardware when it comes to Microsoft. That's just a fact. It has been like that for a very long time. No matter what they try to sell, it's never going to be number one in the consumer's mind. Never. It's just what they do. They make great products that people don't care about. People care about the software. And that's what's going to take them to the promised land that they're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to put their software everywhere because that's what they do.
Yeah. Which makes the ABK acquisition make even more sense. If you're reading the tea leaves, that they have these big franchises now that people are going to buy on PlayStation, on Xbox. I think Call of Duty, PC, not with Candy Crush Mobile. I mean, they stand to generate a lot of revenue just owning those valuable IPs.
Right.
So, any other thoughts, panel?
It's what do you guys think is going to happen as far as how do you think the other consoles are going to respond when they start putting their games on other consoles? Do you think the PlayStation and Nintendo fanboys are going to be excited about this or disappointed?
About the games coming, like Xbox first party?
Yes.
I think honestly I could see some people being excited about maybe having the opportunity to play like a Gears of War maybe on PlayStation or Halo on PlayStation, because it's those games have never existed on any other platform.
Right.
As far as fanboys go, they're gonna talk shit and still not play games. But as far as actual gamers, I can tell you right now. Well, I mean, because you said fanboys, so yeah, they don't play games anyway. But as far as actual gamers, like I can give you an example right now. A friend of mine, when he heard back in 2018, when Xbox bought Bethesda, he was pissed because he didn't want to ever own another Xbox. He bought a Series S specifically for Starfield. So he's going to be pissed if Starfield comes to PlayStation, because the whole reason he went and bought a Series S was because he wanted to play Starfield. So, and I know quite a few people like him who, they don't really want to own an Xbox, but they would love to play some of the games that that are Xbox games. I mean, before I sold my Series X, the whole reason I bought it was because of the game. I mean, when they bought Bethesda, and I was a newly converted Skyrim fan. and I'd always admired Forza Horizon games and, you know, all of those games. If those games had already been coming or had started coming to PlayStation before I bought it, then, you know, I would have just, you know, bought them on PlayStation. So I think there's a lot of people who are gamers that just don't want to own an Xbox for whatever reason, and not because they hate Xbox, they just don't want to own one, that would definitely jump on those games. Like, I've seen quite a few people that I've asked that question to, and they're like, oh yeah, I'd definitely buy that. You know, I can't justify buying a whole console for it, but I would definitely buy some of those games.
Yeah, and people got to realize, like, it's really would be like a win-win for both parties. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, just having some of the multiplayer games from Xbox on PlayStation, you grow the community automatically. The splits on the microtransactions in the games works out for both companies because it's revenue that Microsoft didn't have, and it's revenue that PlayStation didn't have. PlayStation didn't have to do anything but load the game up on their system,
30%.
put it up on the back end, and they got 30% cut.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, you're right. Like Microsoft gets 70%. Microsoft gets 70%. They get you know, yes, I like somebody in the live chats. Yeah, they're you know, Apex Persia says PlayStation owners wanted to play Halo or Gears, they would have bought an Xbox. Yeah, some already have, but others haven't. And because the proposition is so great potentially for those people who already own a PlayStation, they may not even think they may want to buy a Gears. They may want to play or play Halo or Gears. But for those two games, maybe the $500 price point or having to buy a new console isn't worth it to those consumers. That's not to say that they wouldn't play those games. They may, and it's just you look at the install base of the PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. There's a lot of opportunity to sell software on those platforms, and that's what Microsoft's in the business of doing, selling software.
You gotta think that Satya Nadella and Tim Stewart are over there looking at the PlayStation user base growing by 16 million users in the month of December, and like, yo, what are we doing? Let's put our foot on the gas and get this thing going, because it's 123 million users potentially that we could activate our new software on. If you look at Nintendo, they got 100 million users or whatever, if not more, 120, something like that. So you're looking at another 250 million users they have potential to tap in with. We already know that they're making Call of Duty for the Switch, and they're staying on PlayStation. So they're already adding potentially another 100 million users. Not that they're going to get that, but that's the pool that's there. You know what I mean? So then the new console is coming, so it's going to be more powerful. More people are going to jump on it. You know what I mean? So that's just added revenue to their pocket for consumers who weren't giving it to them in the first place.
Yeah, and by the way, consumers on their platform, by the way, that wasn't giving it to them. They also just made a $90 billion acquisition. They need to make that money back.
Right. Yep. And there are so many people on the other two platforms that look at some of the Xbox games and they're like, man, those games look good, but you know, you can want something, but not want something bad enough to spend $500 to access it. You know, like you can look at the Gears of War games and be like, man, those games look fun, but man, I don't want to spend $500 for 3 games or for 4 games. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a win-win. It really is.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think the fact that they haven't come out and said, "Look, guys, we're not bringing first." I mean, I know Phil Spencer say, "Oh, you know, with Activision, with Bethesda, it's kind of on a case by case." But when you hear a game like Hi-Fi Rush, when you hear that maybe Sea of Thieves,
and Sea of Thieves would be coming from a studio that was not acquired during their acquisition spree. That's a studio that they've had in pocket for a very long time.
Yeah.
So that puts everything on the table, because it's not something that comes from a different publisher, i.e. Bethesda or i.e. Activision. That's something that was in-house and could potentially be coming to other consoles. So that's a totally different story and puts everything on the table.
Yeah, with having Rare and Sea of Thieves makes sense because it's a live service game. So obviously, live services games are going to thrive. Having them all, it's already on PC, but it's going to thrive. Having access to a larger community. If you release it on the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation, but to your point, be like, clearly there was some kind of Sea of Thieves, sorry, if that is true. And what's interesting is even like when Jess Corden has reached out to them to confirm whether those rumors are true or not, he's saying like they haven't denied it, which is kind of again which is something they've done. That's not like Forte. Thank you, Sprinting Snail. Which is something they've done in the past. They've actually denied these rumors. No, that's not happening, and they'll let you know. They're just not doing it this time.
But the thing is, everybody is. We ask this question all the time. If Xbox could put their games in other places like other consoles, would they do it? And I've always said, yeah, they'll do it. It will come down to if Nintendo and PlayStation would allow that to happen. Because Phil Spencer will put those. I mean, it's just always kind of been a thing ever since 2015 when they started to Play Anything initiative. And they started putting their games on PC. And then it started, games are going to exist where Game Pass exists. I think they would rather have Game Pass everywhere. But once they found that they can't get Game Pass everywhere because, nobody else wants a competing subscription service on their console, unless they have a very, very super curated version of it, then Xbox has always, in my opinion, been willing to put their games in other places. It just finally seems like PlayStation and Nintendo are more receptive to it happening now than they've ever been in the past, because they feel
I think they've always been receptive to it, because you got to think.
Yeah.
Minecraft has been on PlayStation for a very long time. And they released new Minecraft games on PlayStation. It's not like PlayStation was like, no, we don't want your new Minecraft games. We'll just take the original one. So they have been receptive to having Microsoft's games on their platform. What they haven't been receptive to is Microsoft trying to control the narrative and put a subscription service on their platform.
Right.
Because I don't think Microsoft ever would make a curated Game Pass for those other consoles. It would be the same thing across the board. Whereas if it's on Xbox, the same Game Pass version that is on Xbox will be on PlayStation and Nintendo. And I don't think either one of them were going to go for that. So I think now they realize that they cannot do that, and that neither one of them would accept that. Now, to get to where they're trying to go, now they're going to start releasing those games piecemeal, one at a time, or wherever the case may be, on those competing consoles, and see how that works out for them. If they start to take off, over this next year, if they start releasing games one by one, and those games see high revenue marks on those other consoles, whole slate is coming. So just everybody be prepared and be ready for it. Don't get your tissues and your handkerchiefs and everything you need, and get the tears out the way, because it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, B. I think when I listen to Satya Nadella, I look at the acquisitions they've made. I think when I hear Phil Spencer say we're not going to out console Sony and Nintendo, to me that's like the white flag right there. When he said that, I'm like, okay, you guys are, when he said our competitors are really Amazon, Google. And I think he that comparison makes sense, because now you're looking at subscription services, monthly active users, things like that.
He only says that because that's Microsoft speak.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer running Xbox brand, his direct competitors are other consoles, because that's the business that he's in. But because he's in all those board meetings with everybody else at Microsoft, he's giving you that Microsoft speak. Microsoft is competing with Amazon and Google because their market cap is the same or not higher than those other companies.
It's a number one market cap
is
now,
not competing with Amazon or Google. Xbox is competing with Nintendo and PlayStation, and they getting their ass whooped. Microsoft is competing with those bigger companies, and to continue to do that, they have to evolve the Xbox brand into what is about to happen.
Yeah. So like
because they getting their ass whooped in the console game.
Yeah. I mean, it's
have been since the start.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like I looked at the hardware numbers in Europe again. Xbox was down 19% year over year. Xbox hardware sales. And, they had a decent 2022, 2021. But since then, they've been in a decline. At this point, halfway in the console generation, you don't see consoles declining that way. They usually are trending up still, especially as you have people that were now you're past the part of early adopters. You're starting to get to the point where people who maybe had the older console platforms are starting to upgrade to the newer console platforms. But that they're not seeing the growth that you see Nintendo, PlayStation have at their year 4 marks in their console gen cycles.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Ramon.
I was gonna say one big reason, and this is a shout out to Slow Mo Backslap, because he on 2 occasions has said one of the big reasons why they're getting asses kicked internationally is because, well, they're half-assing internationally. You know what I mean? Yeah, like they don't localize their games, or the localization is terrible. So basically, if you don't speak English, you get a middle finger, from a box that's being sold in your country. So if you want to sell consoles and sell games in other countries, you have to localize the hardware and the software for those countries so those people can actually play your games. And they're not giving it everything they've got internationally. So I mean, that's yet another reason why they're not selling consoles. They're getting beat on their home turf, and they're not trying hard enough off their home turf.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear this conversation hear these, hear Satya, hear Phil, hear Tim Stewart talk about Xbox in this way. And to your point, B, I know you've been saying this is gonna be the pivot for quite some time. Hearing a Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush, maybe a Starfield now. It's gonna this. I think what's gonna end up happening is the conversation or the question that's gonna come up every time they announce a game is this game gonna eventually be ported over to PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, or both?
And
again, I think
we see this now.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna be. Yeah, that's not gonna be a question. It's just gonna be how long and when, or when and how long.
Yep.
That's what it's going to be.
Timed exclusivity. 6 months, 3 months, a year. How long?
Yeah, and honestly, that might work for them. Especially since they want to still kind of dabble in the they don't want to completely do away with the console just yet, because there is still in their opinion, a healthy amount of people that still buy the console. I mean, like B said, you're not going to sell 84, 85 million or 82 million, again. That was it. And that was mostly due to, I think, the fact they came out early.
I mean, they might not even sell as much as the Xbox One.
They might not. Well, I mean,
they're trending behind the Xbox One right now.
This is the thing. I mean, but I don't know why that's surprising to anybody, because
I'll tell you.
They tell no, it's not. It shouldn't be, because what have they told you to go out and buy a console? All their messaging is about
why you don't have to have the console. It's like if a person tells you if a person tells you to sell you something for years and years and years, you decide to believe something else. That's not them. That's you at that point.
Yeah,
because they've been telling people for years you don't have to have one, and these numbers, and that's why I don't think it's like this. That's why I don't think you really hear a huge panic from them, because they're in the back room saying like, this is something we've been telling people for a while now. They just want you in the ecosystem. And Slow-Mo made that video about 2 years ago where he said Xbox is no longer a platform; it is an ecosystem.
Yep.
Game Pass is the platform now. The console is just means to get people into the ecosystem. And now and they have a healthy, that's the thing, they have a healthy amount of people that know about the ecosystem. So now they can start siphoning off that platform and say, hey, let's get you into other places. Like BRAP, you used to Xbox Live beta tester. Will that mean anything in the next 5-10 years? Because everything's on PC, pretty much. That's where you play all your Xbox games at. Yeah. When it comes to Ramon, he dropped Xbox completely and went to PC. But guess what? He still can play all those same games right there on his PC and everything like that. And then
they got me on a double dip. They got me on a double dip because I bought both Forza Horizon 4 and 5 physically. Mm-hmm. It was pissed. It was pissed because I did, because I'm a platform snob and I wanted all five of them on disc.
Yep.
As I'm sure anyone can assume, I don't have a disc player on my PC. So
if you did, I'd look at you really weird.
That would be kind of an interesting build, right?
So where did you put it? Interesting build. So. What case exactly. It actually has room for it?
Yeah, exactly. So they got me twice on Forza Horizon 4 and 5. So. I still buy their games, and I bought Hi-Fi Rush and played that, and it was a freaking blast. So yeah.
And guess what? The only people that this is going to affect are the single console only gamer that prefers to play on an Xbox platform, and even then, it really doesn't affect them because they'll still be able to play those games. And we go And I told you this, we was on the phone, BRAP. People forget what they said 6 months ago. A lot of conversations about exclusivity and exclusivity being bad. Well, I partake in, but tell people all the time, like, yeah, I think this should be exclusive. I feel like that should be exclusive. But am I the person that makes that decision? I am just blessed enough to be able to own the platforms I want to own. And I've always told people, if PlayStation put all their games on PC and it was not a long wait for it, then I wouldn't own a PlayStation. There's no reason to own it. Like we already,
and they know that, and that's why they're not doing it.
And that's why they're not doing it. And listen, when it comes to platform, and I feel like the bastion of people going out and buying a console for a particular thing, the only one more than likely left standing is going to be Nintendo. Everybody else is going to go the route that this is going, and that's not saying that they have to do it. It's just the fact that it's no reason not to do it. The money games are cost, especially when you think about the price that games are costing. You might as well get as much money as you can, as many chances you get. They tell you if you don't shoot any shots, you ain't gonna get no points out of it. And that's what it is at this point. Xbox isn't shooting enough shots when it comes to the games that they're selling, because their platform or the Xbox console itself, they semi-devalue people buying games on that platform. But guess what? You don't see that on Steam. When they on Steam, people buy those games because, that's just the ecosystem that's kind of been built over there. And people are thriving in that avenue. But it's only a matter of time until everything falls into this place. But Xbox is they're at a point where we said 4 or 5 years ago when they started Xbox Game Pass in 2017, they had to do this because it was so abysmal in their overall game output was just atrocious. And they had to do something to get people to believe in a platform again. And now that they got those people, this is what they're going to do next to try to get more people.
I don't know about PlayStation putting their games on the Xbox.
No, I'm not talking about PlayStation. No, I'm not. I wasn't talking about them putting their game. I was talking about the whole thing with PC, because PC is going to be the bastion where everything goes.
Okay.
No, I don't see PlayStation putting their game, because by the time PlayStation decide to do that, it won't be an Xbox anymore, and Nintendo is never going to do that ever. I don't ever, because they. What did Phil Spencer say? What did Phil Spencer say in those emails? He was talking about when they were trying to, go after Nintendo. They was like, listen.
They laughed him right out of the building.
The thing, what did he tell them? He said, the thing that we have, that we can give Nintendo got more of it than a lot of people. They got more money than anybody. So the thing that we can offer them, they already got a boatload of it. So
Microsoft has nothing to value to Nintendo, really.
Not to Nintendo.
No, they just don't. Nothing. I mean, yeah, the other thing too is Sony. I mean, Sony, and this is why I say this is a tale of two different companies. One Microsoft having the highest value, market cap value now. A lot of that's because of the gold rush in AI right now.
When did they pass them? When did they pass Apple this year? I mean, literally a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, last week I think.
Yeah, last week.
But a lot of that's AI driven. And the interesting thing is it's a tale of two different companies. You have Microsoft, who is a software as a service company, right? You have Sony that's, and I go back to the messaging too. Like people say, oh well, PlayStation also, I see people say PlayStation's also a third party publisher. I don't agree with that. Even if they put their games on PC, PC is not a competitor. PC is there's no first party studios on PC. Okay, there's
yes, there are.
No, who's a first party studio on PC? Like what first party studio is? Who owns PC, the PC platform? Who's making first party games?
I don't care what you say. If you was to ask Gabe Newell who owns PC, he'll tell you Valve does.
Gabe is a storefront.
I'm just messing around. No, you're right. I'm just. But if you think about the ecosystems,
but there's also. But I'm saying PC is this own, agnostic platform. It's not owned by a corporation. It's an open platform. The publishing is vastly different compared to the license agreements of console. It's not the same thing.
Right.
And what I will say is the messaging, even though PlayStation puts their games on PC at a later date, they never see. And this again, the tale of two different companies. You have a software company that wants to sell software to wherever the consumers are, and then you have a hardware company in Sony. That's what Sony does. They are a hardware manufacturer. They're in the business of selling hardware, and so at the center of their gaming experience is the PlayStation 5 hardware, and then they get you in there and they sell you software that way, and then they sell you the PlayStation 5 Portal, PlayStation VR, the DualSense Edge, the earbuds. Did Slow-Mo get the earbuds? I forget.
He did get the earbud. He got the earbuds.
Yeah, so they sell you these. They say very, very Apple-esque. Look at what Apple does. It's almost, I think they mirror each other very closely in their behavior. But you never hear Nintendo or Sony say, "Hey, we got these exclusive games from our first-party studios. They're coming out, but they're also coming to play. They're also coming to PC." That's never the conversation with them. It's always focused on the hardware, the PlayStation, and getting people to buy into that hardware ecosystem, and then buying software. And they're vastly different word tracks that these companies use. And that's why I say Microsoft, to me, just their behavior, their word track, very analogous to that of a third-party publisher. But before to your question about why do I think that the series consoles would sell more than the Xbox One, and maybe they do, assuming hardware picks up. I just thought that Microsoft really entered the market with a great value proposition in the Xbox Series S, and then tied that with Game Pass. So I thought they'd be more competitive. I thought they're acquiring those studios. They just seem to have a better message than the Xbox One launch, and a better value proposition, I thought.
Where's the marketing?
Well, I mean,
did you see? Did you see a commercial? Remember the 360 generation when they were really trying to sell consoles, and the commercials would come out like play. It like Call of Duty commercials would come out. They'd say, Modern Warfare 3, play it, get all DLC early on Xbox 360. Then it'd be the theater say, Xbox 360, $399. Where do you see stuff like that? They literally just had the lowest price drop of the generation for all their consoles. You could get an X for $350. Did you see it anywhere outside of just going on Twitter and watching WarioWare post updates about it? Where did you see Xbox talk about that?
Well, I didn't see. I didn't see any marketing from them. But I'm thinking more along the lines like Forte, like the consumers, like we're a small port, like the heart, like us, the enthusiasts, we're a very small part of the console market. So I'm thinking like if you're, because I remember I would hear the scenarios played out on podcasts. Little Johnny goes to Best Buy with his mom. He sees the Xbox Series S. It's $299, and then the guy at Best Buy tells him about Game Pass. They're going to sell gangbusters, and that just didn't happen. That's what I just thought the value proposition was so strong for them, and they were in such a better position going into this generation than last. That's why I'm surprised that they're trending the way they are. They're trending behind the Xbox One in terms of hardware sales.
It's because when little Johnny got to the store, he asked for a PlayStation instead.
Well,
exactly.
Exactly.
PlayStation is people just can't forget that Xbox, they need all of the help they can get and all of the advantages they can get, because people, that 1 year that they had over PlayStation in 2006, that was massive. That they had that. Literally the only thing that people were talking about, and we already know how people are. They're super impatient. They don't want to wait. And I always keep telling people, you will never see a generation where there was more PlayStation gamers that had Xboxes than that generation. It's not that the gamers for Xbox dried up. It's the fact that there's not as many people that own PlayStations and they own an Xbox too. That was a generation where you dang near owned everything. Mostly due to the fact that Xbox came out early, PlayStation jacked up and had a $600 system at that time, and people just weren't buying. They wasn't feeling the way that PlayStation was talking then, so they went out and bought an Xbox. And then as the games came out, as the price of the system dropped, the fans that were PlayStation fans that didn't buy day one still ended up buying a PlayStation, because guess what? They were a PlayStation fan before anything else. And then you go into the next generation, Xbox stopped making games in 2011, probably a little earlier than that. They pretty much, took their first party and just scuttled it. And you literally had four first party studios for the first 5 years or 6 years of the Xbox One generation. Like, outside of the few really good games you got from third parties or second parties and stuff, what else really was there, on a consistent basis when it came to the games and stuff. So it was like that perfect storm. Mm-hmm. And I always felt like when Xbox came out this generation with this system, that they needed to find a way to get out ahead of PlayStation. And if they can't do that, it just makes it harder for them to like try to compete, because as soon as you see a new PlayStation, everybody's like, oh yeah, brand new PlayStation, whatever the number it is, 6, 7. And people just know what that is. And they're going to go out and buy it. It's no competing with that at this point.
Yeah, I want to address something in the live chat real quick to this guy Last. Look, please don't come in here spreading misinformation, disinformation.
Oh, what'd he say?
He's saying that Spider-Man 2 wasn't successful. It wasn't profitable based on the leaks, the stolen documents from Insomniac. That's actually not true.
I mean, that stuff was still, that game is still selling right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Lash, you do realize the game's still selling now. And the leaks actually don't point to the game not being profitable. What you're conflating is the conversation around the budgets of large AAA games and the sustainability of these games. There's a lot of missing context in those leaked documents. There's no timestamps. We had David Falke on this past, I think it was Saturday. He was on Saturday. Yeah, he said, sometimes companies will often run these financial analysis, these kind of like fire drills. We don't know if that's what's happening here either. There's a lot of context we don't know. So please don't come in here and try to spread misinformation, disinformation. If you want to have a level-headed conversation, we're all for that. But yeah, don't do that, because that's you're making a lot of assumptions on things, and you're taking out of context what the leaks actually said. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Forte. You were saying something, I think.
Oh, that was it. Like I said, I just think in general it just comes back to they just need to do what's best for them. And at this point, their core competency is software and services. And that's what they're going to truly focus on. So if you had to put it in any order, the service comes before the software comes right after that, then whatever hardware they produce are going to be for the people that want it. But their overall goal is to flood the market with their software and their services so as many people can get into their ecosystem as possible. And the days of them trying to convince somebody that a box underneath your TV is the way forward is kind of, I'm not going to say over for them, but it's not the priority, even to the point where they're even trying to find a way to put Windows and not have Windows be something that you have to install on a box. They're trying to have that be something that's part of the cloud network. One of their most successful things ever. They're even trying to detach that from the box. So that's just the direction that Microsoft is going. And with Xbox being under Microsoft, that's kind of the direction Xbox is going in.
Yeah, man, I tell you, man, these talking points I'm hearing coming out of these Xbox centric podcasts is just maddening. Yeah, Last, you haven't given us any numbers. I mean, people.
Wrong with the having to. I mean, listen, it's nothing wrong with defending the point that they really, because like I said, it's a hard thing to like kind of take in when you kind of see it. It's like, for us, I think if you think about it from the standpoint of a person that is invested, like truly invested into that ecosystem, and that's the only thing that they know, then all this stuff is like, yo, I'm trying to find every reason why this isn't true, compared to the people that kind of been seeing the writing on the wall for like the last 8-9 years.
But here's the thing, Forte. We have this thing called the internet, man. Like this guy who's misrepresenting.
Yeah, but you use the internet, and everybody does. Well,
people need to use the internet. Like stop.
I know.
Like stop getting stop getting all your information from X podcast, whatever, or like just stop doing that. And then it's like,
I choose to let people figure it out on their own, and at some point it's going to happen. Just like we told people, just like we said a long time ago, that all those games, when we started hearing the leaks about PlayStation games coming, and PlayStation fans were super delusional about it, and we kept saying, okay, when it happens, don't cry. And as soon as it started happening, it was like, oh, this and that, blah blah blah. I can't stand this, and all of this other stuff happening. And I'm like, it didn't bother me one bit. Being a person that's a PlayStation fan, didn't bother me one bit, because guess what? More people get to play the games, and I've always been a very staunch believer in, if you can still play the game where you prefer to play it, how does it hurt you that it's somewhere else? I never understood that. Now, if that thing that you cared about disappeared, Now, that's a completely different thing. And I think that's the thing that people need to kind of focus on. The fact that Xbox is kind of moving on from the console space and they're trying to find a way to still be relevant in the gaming sphere outside of just selling consoles. If they were to get rid of the console, then that would be a sad day for all of us, because I remember the day I went and got my original Xbox One in 2001, and the reason I bought it and everything, it's kept outside for a 360 and was looking forward to the promises of what the Xbox One had and telling people that, yo, we're going to finally get a 60 frames per second generation when it comes to the Xbox Series X console. I remember all of those different things of how I felt every time I got a new Xbox. And that stuff will disappear at some point if Xbox keeps going in that direction. But I choose not to dwell on it, because it's not my decision. It is not any of ours. It's nobody in the chat. You can believe what you want to believe. You can say that Sony is this, but ultimately this is the direction this corporation wants to go in. Just like PlayStation decided that, yes, we value our games to the point where we don't want to have them in some type of subscription service. We value our games where we don't want to have them on day and date when it comes to PC, even knowing those are all things that I wish they did. I wish they brought their games to PC, but I'm not about to be mad at them, because guess what? What works for them is working for them. They're still selling millions and millions of copies of their games. Mm-hmm. And that's all that should matter at this point.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to address something in the chat here. It's not what you said. You came in here and you said that Spider-Man 2 didn't sell well based on the leaked documents, which isn't true, and that it needed PC. Forte's not saying that. Forte's saying that that Spider-Man 2 will come to PC eventually, because Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales came to PC, so it makes sense that it would also come to PC. And we know that last, you don't have any numbers saying that it's a failure. You're misquoting a leak. You're not even getting the leak correct. 2.5 million copies sold day one, its first day. It beat the previous record held by God of War Ragnarok. I think I have to go back and pull this number. 8 million copies sold now of Spider-Man 2.
Listen, man.
What's that?
I don't know. It's something like that, but
yeah,
at a certain point, does it really? What does Spider-Man even? Okay, my whole thing. This is the other thing. What does Spider-Man have to do with any of this?
With what?
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
That's what I'm saying. What does it? What does it have to do with any of this? It's like, and that's the thing and I had to divorce myself from this a long time ago, because this is why I kind of stopped being on Twitter as much, because I started feeling my brain cells disappearing. Because it was like the conversation would always be about one platform, and then we're talking about Xbox, but then it goes over to PlayStation. Then the same thing happens when we're talking about PlayStation. Then people want to talk bad about Xbox, and I'm sitting there like, yo, why does one thing have to be conflated to another? Can you people don't know how to argue a fact inside the realm that we're talking in, what does PlayStation and Spider-Man sales have to do with anything that's going on with Xbox? Nothing. I don't think Xbox not putting their games, I don't think Xbox not wanting to sell consoles anymore has anything to do with Spider-Man being on PlayStation and selling games.
Yeah, so they just what
is it about?
They just come in as straw man, and that's what they do.
Just be happy that you got a game on your system. People should just be happy just be happy. Be happy that Starfield came out finally. And if you were one of the people that enjoyed the game immensely, be happy that that was a game that came out this year and had enough hype behind it and still did really well with an 80+ Metacritic score. Be happy that, Halo Infinite is in a way better playing space than it was not even a year ago. Be happy that Hellblade is literally coming out this year, the most anticipated game on my list. I'm happy that game's finally coming. You're finally going to get a chance to see Avowed and all these other games, and you're going to get a chance to see what Indiana Jones looks like. That's what you should be excited for. Why do we care about something that we probably don't even have in our house? We probably don't even got a PlayStation.
Elder Scrolls 6, Blade, the Clockwork Revolution game. My main concern, just like you said, Forte, we should be concerned, are the moves that they're making going to enable them to bring these games that we want to play? And
that's
the
it.
answer is yes, let's do it. Just like when PlayStation went to PC. If PlayStation selling games on PC means that I get Ghost of Tsushima 2, if it means that I get whatever the next Naughty Dog IP is, hopefully not something that makes me want to jump off a bridge, then I'm happy about that. You know what I mean? So as long as these companies are making moves that enables them to keep bringing the experiences that I love, at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Exactly. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I can't. Indiana Jones is. I can't wait to see Indiana Jones. By the way, like I'm really looking forward to seeing that tomorrow.
That showcase is at what 3:00 Eastern.
Yeah. I'm really.
Wait.
Yeah, I think this should be a good showcase for them. I'm excited. It's going to be. I'm really genuinely curious to see if they show us any of the things we talked about earlier this evening with Indiana Jones. So it's going to be very interesting.
And you know the funny thing is, think about what you just said, and the whole conversation literally just talked about something about Spider-Man when Xbox has a showcase tomorrow, and we talked literally about Xbox devaluing the console for over an hour and a half. Talked about them literally saying we don't care about the console. They may not be saying that outright, but that's literally what the sentiment is out there for people. But now but then think about it. Tomorrow is one of the biggest days for Xbox where they get to showcase 4 of the games that's coming out this year that a lot of people are anticipating. And we're looking forward to that happening because we still can play those games wherever we want to play them. So it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
Absolutely right.
Man, I can't wait to see Hellblade tomorrow. That's all I know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. But all right, gentlemen, I need to wrp up the show.
Is it 12:40 in the morning?
It is.
How dare you, sir?
And I need to get up bright and early. And this show lasted much longer than I anticipated. But thank you everyone in the live chat for hanging out with us for quite a few of you that hung out with us for the full 3 hours, almost 4 hours here. I really appreciate it. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Helps out the show. And if you're new, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Big shout out to Mag, middle-aged gaming guy, for joining us earlier in the show as well. And also big shout out to Game Logic, who had to leave as well. And also thank you to our guest here, Ramon. Ramon, thank you, man. It's always a pleasure having you on BRAP.
Man, it is always a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me. I love coming on and talking games with you guys. And I mean, just the quick parting soapbox comment. All of this stuff is made for our enjoyment and our entertainment. That's its sole purpose. I mean, yeah, obviously to take money out of our pocket, but in exchange for that, they're giving us these beautiful experiences, and there has never been more variety in content and price than what we have right now. Enjoy this stuff, man. Just don't argue about it. Just enjoy it. It's the only reason it is here is for our enjoyment. Yeah. And there's no reason to argue about it. Just have fun, man.
Yeah.
There's plenty of problems that we have in the world, so have fun with this.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ramon. And one of the things I don't think is discussed enough is what you described, that there's a variety of different types of gaming experience available to us, in all shapes and sizes, if you will, and at a variety of different price points or ways to engage in gaming, that in ways that we didn't have or do 20, 30 years ago. So
dude, think about it. There's people, I've seen people go online and complain about how the NES and the Genesis were the golden age and good, and I miss those games. There are indie devs who make those exact games right now. So if you want to go and play like Horizon Forbidden West, you can play that. And if you prefer the pixel side scrollers, you can go play that. There's new ones coming out all the time. There's never been more variety. We have never been more blessed as gamers than we are right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, there's a lot of variety and ways that I don't think we didn't have like growing up. We just didn't have it.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't, man.
Yeah, we really did. So that's a great point, Ramon. But Ramon, thank you again, though. It really is truly always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, having you on. Gaming Forte, you have DPS tomorrow night, and what a great night to have DPS coming off of the Developer Direct. So let everyone know where they could how they could tune into DPS tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. You can check it out on my channel tomorrow with the homie Slow-Mo. We also are going to have it on the DPS channel too, so check it out over there. But that's tomorrow night, 9 p.m. EST. Come check us out. Gaming Forte, YouTube, Twitter, and _, PlayStation, and great show as always. And the fact that we went as long as Shannon Sharp's Nightcap is still on, I know it's late. And I'm about to go watch it.
Yeah, right.
The fact that Nightcap is on right now, I know it's late at night, bro. About to get ready to go watch it. He up there talking to Gilbert Arenas. It's definitely too late to be playing.
Got Gil on there? Oh man.
It was the NBA night, so it's NBA night, so I got to go watch some of that before I go to sleep. That's like a ritual at 12 o'clock for me. But guys, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the Developer Direct tomorrow, and let's hope that Xbox shows some really, really cool things, because we know that's going to pretty much probably happen. I just hope that it entices PlayStation to finally come out of their shell and announce something for a upcoming event for themselves. That's what I'm looking forward to as well. But have a good week, guys, and we'll see you guys later.
All right, sounds good. B Money, thank you. Always a pleasure, B Money. I'm hoping the Bears don't pick Caleb Williams, but we'll find out shortly, I suppose.
Oh yeah, I hope they don't pick him either. I hope we continue to build on this roster and put some pieces around Justin Fields. But you never know, man. It's Chicago sports, man. Anything can happen. They continue to disappoint, so that's what I look forward to is just more disappointment.
Yeah, the keeping the head coach and firing his staff basically was kind of a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, makes no sense at all.
So do you think that y'all want them to keep Justin Fields? I agree with that, by the way. Do you trade the number 1 pick back to go back, or do you keep it and draft Marv with the number 1 pick?
Yeah, so I think they can still get Marv if they trade the number 1 pick.
I do too.
Depending
I think they can get
who they traded to. But being a number 1 pick as a wide receiver, that's a big deal. You know what I mean?
That is a big deal, bro.
It just depends on how they're looking at it, and what they can get if they trade the pick. Because I think they could still get Marv at maybe the 2 or 3, and then maybe get another pick. Because I think they have the 9th.
They got the 9th pick. They got the 9th pick.
So they got the 1st and the 9th, and then they have like an early 2nd round pick too. So, they could do some damage in the draft. But I think if you can get another pick and still get Marvin Harrison, I think that's the move you got to make.
Yeah, I agree. Because Marv needs to be there. That'd be cold if you get Marv there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see it twice a year, but it'd be good for the Bears.
Yeah, it should be an interesting draft for sure. But B, hey, always a pleasure, man. We got to do like a football podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you we're gonna do it next year. Next year we're doing it. We're doing that next year. I already told you the name of it.
We should start doing it now with the playoffs and the draft coming up. I think we should start now. But
we could. Yeah, I mean, we just gotta set I said the Monday after.
Yeah, no, I love it.
The Monday after podcast.
Let's go. Football Fridays.
Nah, see, we got to talk.
You got to do it after like Monday.
Yeah, you got to do it. Yeah, Monday. Yeah, no, I agree.
Or Tuesday, because you got to go through the Monday night game and all the games on Sunday. You know what I mean? It'll be a great wrap up to the week.
Yep, Monday after podcast. Let's go. Let's make it happen. I'll get the artist on it.
Yeah, we definitely should do it. I mean, there's definitely a lot of football related news to discuss with the head coach searches. What's going on with the Commanders right now? They just hired Adam Peters to be their general manager. So hopefully that hire works out.
I'm just one more person down for Jim Harbaugh not going to the NFL. Just keep on interviewing and not getting the job offer yet. Let's go. That's all.
I think he's going, man.
Man, I think he go too. But listen, every time that man don't get an offer, I'm like, man, that's one step closer to coming back to Michigan. Let's go. I need you back here, bro. We ain't trying to go back to the Stone Age.
yeah, he did turn the program around, man.
We ain't going back. We can't go back, bro. We can't go back. We go back though. I already see it happening. Unfortunately, that Charger job looks way too good with Herbert out there, and they ain't got no GM, so he get full control. Oh man,
yeah. I think that's what he wants. He wants full control.
We'll talk about see what we see. This is why we need a football podcast. We talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but, all right.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Everyone, thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy tomorrow's Developer Direct by Xbox. That should be great. Should be very informative. They're showcasing some, what I think are some titles that at least I'm excited about. So check out DPS tomorrow. They'll be talking about the Developer Direct. And again, thank you to our guests this evening, Ramon Terrell and Middle-Aged Gaming Guy Mag. And shout out to the rest of the panel members, Slow-Mo, Gaming Forte, B-Money, and Game Logic. We'll catch you next week. Have a great rest of the week.
Peace.
Later on, y'all.
Let on, though.